Let's go. You are now listening to Jason Anderson, and you are in the zone.
The Zone is presented by Guaranteed Foods, delivering all natural food to Midwestern families since 1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, a Monday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Dylan Michaels. We head up until 2 o'clock. The next 4 hours, we've got you. Tons of stuff to get into. Jam-packed show today as we have a lot to talk about with the NCAA tournament brackets being revealed, what the path will be for some of these teams, who your Final Four teams are, sleepers, Cinderellas, and national champions. We'll find out over the next 3 weeks of college basketball. That will culminate in Phoenix with crowning a national champion, and we'll see if what is going to be the most popular pick out of those that are picking and selecting their brackets, if there is a repeat champion in the NCAA tournament in the UConn Huskies, the favorite to win the whole thing. We will see. If there's one thing the conference tournament, the last tournaments and championship week has taught us, is that this is going to be a chalky tournament. Obviously not. From what we have seen the last couple of weeks, we might be in for one wild ride over the next couple of weeks in this tournament. We typically are. Every year, it's a wild ride to some way, shape, or form. We have had the years, what was it, a couple of years ago when we didn't have like a buzzer beater in the first round at all? Like Thursday or Friday, there was no like late buzzer beater drama or anything like that. There was one of those years that was recent that was like, that was a little disappointing. But typically, the NCAA tournament is never going to disappoint. And I think this will be one of those years as well, that it will not disappoint. So we will talk about the NCAA tournament, the draw, what we are looking for, looking at some of the storylines coming from the tournament. We will talk a little bit about something we discussed on Friday, that Mick Schaefer fell asleep while we were discussing it, and that was the new rules in getting in the NIT. And we had mentioned the fact that the portal opens on Monday, which is today, but this was on Friday, the portal opening on Monday, and if teams would be turning down their invites to the NIT. We discussed that on Friday. We're seeing that is actually happening because the portal opening today, we're seeing different transfers come out across the country, and that's something that everybody will be keeping track of because essentially free agency starts in college basketball today with a number of players putting their name in the portal, and there are going to be a range from guys who are small bit pieces that may be transferring down a level, maybe looking for opportunities, to stars that can be difference makers and help a team win a national championship. Tennessee is a number 2 seed, and they got a transfer in Dalton Connect who has been fantastic. And if Tennessee and Rick Barnes goes to the Final Four, it will be because they are a team this year that has overcome the Rick Barnes offensive inefficiencies in the past, and being such a defensive-centric team, a defensive lopsided strength team, this year they can score. This year they've got the offense to carry them as well, and a big reason, a transfer in Dalton Connect. There are transfers all over the place. It's something you can look at every single team. You'll find that. But we'll see. We'll find out as this tournament goes along. We will get into our Final Four picks because I know everybody is interested. They clearly want to hear what Dylan is going to say about his Final Four picks. They want to hear my Final Four picks so they can stay away from these selections. I've told this story a couple times. I will never give somebody advice on what to do in the tournament and who to pick and who their Final Four team should be. The last time I did that, and after the tournament was over, I said, you know what, never again. One of my friends was filling out her bracket, and she was like, hey, you know sports. I've got UConn going to the Final Four, and I'm like, that's dumb. They just played 5 games in 5 days in the Big East tournament. Like, they are tired. I wouldn't put them in the final. They're not, let's just say they're not in my final. They're not going far in my bracket. I'll just say that. But, okay. Yeah, that I didn't know that. UConn wins the national championship that year. And had she kept UConn in the Final Four, she would have won her bracket. Liverpool. And I said, you know what? Never again. That's why, like, you don't know. Like, you got the experts right after the bracket is revealed on CBS and on ESPN and wherever, and they're making their Final Four picks. But we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. Who had San Diego State in the national championship last year? Who had Florida Atlantic in San Diego State? UConn was a 4 seed last year. I know Bill Self had a nice little joke about, well, 4 seeds. There was a 4 seed last year. If I'm not mistaken, they did pretty good, and they did. UConn wins the national championship as a 4 seed. Not saying that's going to be the case this year with a 4 seed, but if a 4 seed won it this year, I wouldn't be shocked if that was the case. Although looking at the 4 seeds, the most likely 4 seed, I don't know. I don't want to say Duke. Auburn or Alabama? I mean, Alabama can score. I mean, they can get into the 90s. They can score. They don't defend all that well, but they can score. I don't know. We'll see. I don't think a 4 seed is going to win this year. You know what? Check that. Auburn. If there's a 4 seed that wins, I think it'd be Auburn. They're top 10 in both offense and defensive efficiency in KenPom. They're the only team in America that's in the top 10 of both. Number 4 in defense, number 10 in offense. They're the number 4 KenPom team in America, and they are a 4 seed in UConn's bracket, UConn's region, which we will certainly talk about. We are going to talk with Josh Kaiser coming up at noon. KCSN One Royal Way podcast. We'll talk with him about the Rawls a couple of weeks away from getting this season underway. Cole Reagans named opening day starter. We will talk with him about Cole Reagans. We'll talk with him about ESPN, Jeff Passan, and some of the people at ESPN putting out their predictions and different storylines around teams. And the Royals, the main thing was the season hinges on Vinny Pasquantino. So we'll talk about that with Josh Kaiser if the season does hinge on the bat of the Pasquatch. We'll do that. And the breakout game yesterday with the Brewers and Royals and the minor league prospects. We'll talk a little bit about that with Josh Kaiser. Mick Schaefer will join us in the 1 o'clock hour. We have our first region of sound that we will reveal today, the bracket of sound. One of our regions will be revealed with Mick Schaefer. We will reveal a bracket of sound region tomorrow, and we will reveal the other 2 regions, the final 2 regions in the bracket of sound on Wednesday. But today we will play the clips that are represented in the East region that we will be calling In My Swifty Era region. The In My Swifty Era region. South region, what we will be calling the Wrong Mother Bleeper region, or otherwise known as You Woke Up the Wrong Mother Bleeper region. The West region, Fat Bear Week. You know, we had a lot of fun with Matt Derrick at different times throughout the last year in Fat Bear Week, so we decided to name a region after it. So the West region, Fat Bear Week. And then the Midwest region name, Angon Briscoe, but with an E. Because why not? Because to hell with them, that's why. Mind your business, that's why. It's Hancock now. What'd you change your name for? Mind your business, that's why. So that comes up today in the 1 o'clock hour. And Mick Schaefer, we'll do Learn Funniest Best as well with Mick Schaefer. So that's how the show will line up. We'll talk some football today as well with the news coming out around the Colts and L'Jarius Sneed, what that means moving forward, and the contract demands, what it may mean for a draft pick or draft picks for the Chiefs, and how much they may get in return from the opposing team or whatever team they're going to be trading with if they end up trading L'Jarius Sneed. 913-912-4810 is the text line. 913-912-4810, the text line. KU is a 4 seed. They were the number 2 4 seed in the NCAA's 1 through 68 ranking. They get Samford. And I was on the air last night with the Selection Sunday special, and when Samford pops up, just a quick little scroll to KenPom, and you see, a team that shoots almost 40% from behind the arc as a group. A team that has a 1 through 5 lineup that the worst shooting percentage of their starting 5 from behind the arc is 38%. I'll say that again. The worst shooting percentage from 3 for any of their starting 5 players is 38%. Their point guard shoots 39%. By the way, that's their shooting guard that shoots 38%. Their small forward shoots 48% on over 100 attempts. Their power forward shoots 39%. And their center shoots 45% on 53 three-point attempts. Not like 10. Essentially the same amount of threes that Hunter Dickinson has taken, but he's making 45% of them. That's their 1 through 5. They are going to chuck up a lot of threes. They're going to run fast. They are going to be a quicker tempo team. They score 86 points per game. I've talked about the 70-point mark. And how do you beat Kansas? You get to 70 points. First and foremost, that's how you beat Kansas. You got to get to 70. And then let the chips fall where they may after that. I believe Samford will get to 70. But we'll see if they end up winning. Here's Bill Self yesterday, his press conference that he had after the bracket was revealed and all of the different regions and everything, talking about his tournament draw as a tough draw this year.
Everybody's going to say they have a hard draw. I think we got a hard draw. When you think of Samford, what have we labored with the most this year? It's teams that shoot a ton of threes, and then we have a hard time making up the difference. And they shoot 39% as a group. They've hung over 100 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times this year. I don't know if we've scored 95 times this year. Of course, I know the competition in some of those games is different, but they can score. They shoot a ton of threes. Their 5-man obviously makes 45% of his threes, and so on paper, looking at it, and not knowing all their personnel the way that we will here shortly, I'd say it's an extremely difficult matchup. And then if you're fortunate enough to win the first one, then who is it in the second game? Gonzaga, yeah, and McNeese State's won 31 games, and Gonzaga's Gonzaga. So yeah, there's nothing easy about the bracket that we're in, but I'm sure other 4 seeds probably feel the same thing in their respective brackets, too.
I understand what Bill Self is saying, because it's not just about, oh, my God, look how tough these teams are. It's about matchups, and that's what we talk about in the NCAA tournament. It's like which matchups work out best for teams. The best teams in America are the teams that can win different ways. Can you win slow? Can you win fast? Can you win against a big team? Can you win against a small team? Can you be a team that knocks down threes? Can you be a team that can survive if you don't hit threes? How many different ways can you chameleon your way to a championship to blend in or be whatever is asked of you that particular night? How many different ways, how many different answers do you have in a game against a particular opponent? And when you don't have many answers or you play one particular style, you are more than likely going to run up against a team whose strength is against your weakness. The time that I can remember where it was so matchup driven that this crazy run happens because it seemed team after team after team, their weakness was the other team's strength. Remember back to VCU. Well, KU fans would remember VCU and their run to the Final Four. But if you go through that run, if I remember correctly, and I'm pretty sure this was the case, each and every team VCU played, that team's biggest weakness was offensive turnovers, was turning the basketball over on offense. And they were playing VCU. And then VCU would get live ball turnovers and steals and layups, and they would be beating teams, and they would be playing teams that can't score it all that well, but turn the ball over often. It'd be like going up against the Kansas State team like 3 or 4 different times where, well, you know what, they're going to turn the ball over 14, 15, 16 times, and then VCU comes in. Their best thing is turning teams over, and then you get like 21, 22 turnovers and you win the game. And then the next matchup, this team's biggest struggle, turning the ball over on offense. There are times when you have a run like that. That wouldn't be the run for KU this year. At least it wouldn't seem on paper right now. Because if you look at Purdue, and I don't know that Purdue's necessarily for sure going to be in the Sweet 16. They just lost as a 1 seed, so it ain't exactly like they are immune to losing early as a 1 seed. And I think Utah State is a damn fine team. And TCU's got some nice wins under their belt. So, and who knows who they'll play, Grambling or Montana State. I don't know. Who knows if they win that game. I guess they will. I don't think they're going to get stung twice, but hey. If it's happened before, it can happen again. So if they play Purdue in the Sweet 16, if you are Kansas, that would be the most likely opponent in the Sweet 16. Samford, McNeese State, and then Gonzaga are the other 3 teams in their what would be 2-day tournament. I think Gonzaga's overseeded. I don't think they're a 5 seed. I think KU got a break there. In fact, I don't think KU's going to play Gonzaga if they win. So what I think will happen if KU were to make the Elite 8, I think they're going to have to go through Samford, McNeese, and Purdue. If they do that, they would be going through the number 8, number 7, and number 2 3-point shooting percentage teams in America. Samford is number 8, McNeese is number 7, Purdue is number 2. And they would have an answer for Hunter Dickinson as well, in Zach Edey. That would be the worst matchup. But again, you're playing a 1 seed in the Sweet 16. You can't exactly ask for a break when you get to the Sweet 16. Oh, this is a tough game in the Sweet 16. Yeah, there's 16 teams remaining. They're all going to be good teams. Even if they might be smaller conference teams, they're probably really good teams. Like Florida Atlantic was a 30-win team last year, right? And they make a run. It's like, oh, look, this team won 30 games. Turns out winning, something you get used to. Just know how to do. I present evidence Exhibit A, Missouri. Losing is something you get used to, and you have an inability to win. On the flip side, when you've got a McNeese team, which I think is going to beat Gonzaga, they've won 30 games this year. They're a 30-win team, and they're the number 7 3-point shooting team in America, and this ain't your, older brother's Gonzaga. It's not your father's Gonzaga. You mean John Stockton? No, I mean your older brother's Gonzaga. Sorry. The Suggs of the world. That's what I mean.
The Adam Morrisons.
That's right. Yeah.
Chet Holmgrens.
Yes, that's right. The national champion almost.
That was quite a wide gap I cast.
Yes,
there,
I know. I get it. Yeah. Playing in a national title and playing in a national title a couple times. Not your older brother's Gonzaga. I don't think very highly of this particular Gonzaga team. I think McNeese wins that game. And then it'll be, if KU wins, they'll face off against another team that shoots a lot of threes. We'll see. Here's the thing. It's the NCAA tournament. There are no easy roads. UConn's the number 1 team in America and the number 1 overall team in the tournament. And they got a pretty rough draw. Iowa State won their conference tournament as the 2 seed. Illinois is the 3 seed, just won their conference tournament. Auburn's the 4 seed, won their conference tournament, and the only team in America that's top 10 in KenPom offense and defensive efficiency, the 5 seed San Diego State, just made a run last year and has experience of returning players that know what it's like to win in the tournament. And the 6 seed in the East is a 5 seed. The 6 seed in the East region with UConn is the highest ranked 5 seed. But they can't be a 5 seed because they can't play on Sundays. And not playing on Sundays and the algorithm and the bracketing principles say they can't be in other regions, so they had to drop to a 6 seed with UConn. So UConn gets what I think is a team that Iowa State's the last number 2 seed, which is absurd. I thought they were fighting for a number 1. Turns out they weren't close, but whatever. Who cares about conference tournaments? Because the committee does not, unless it's automatic bids. That's the only reason we care about conference tournaments is automatic bids, clearly. Iowa State conference champion, Illinois conference champion, Auburn conference champion, San Diego State played in a national title game last year, and BYU's a 5 seed. But they're the 6 seed there. And that's the number 1 team in the bracket that got that draw. So a lot of people can complain about different draws that they got. Houston. Hold on, we get Nebraska? We get a team that actually has like 4 or 5 different answers and ways to win a game? And we got some injuries to deal with? Well, who knows if they beat A&M? We'll see. North Carolina. Like, we might get Bama in the Sweet 16. Yeah, you might get some tough teams. It happens. Everybody's got some sort of an issue with every single draw. But go out and win games. Find a way to get it done. Survive in advance, as they say. Real quick, Bill Self, an update on Hunter Dickinson and Kevin McCullough. This is from last night. He was asked about the health of Hunter Dickinson and Kevin McCullough as they get set for a Thursday night, the second-to-last game of the opening day on the NCAA tournament Thursday. Here's Bill Self and the update on his 2 All-Americans.
Kevin and Hunter.
Yeah, Hunt's doing great. He's actually practiced the last 2 days, non-contact. So we've done a lot of dry stuff so that way he could be out there, and then he'll go contact tomorrow. Kevin, I haven't seen do anything. The entire game plan on him was hopefully on Monday he can be good to go. And if he's not good to go tomorrow, then he won't be, and then we'll hope on Tuesday. But I don't know as much about Kevin as I do Hunt.
Does that sound ominous to anybody else? Because last week it was, well, Kevin's going to get an extra week off. We're going to be pretty healthy when the game is played. Hunter, yeah, he's going through non-contact. He'll be in contact drills starting on Monday and practicing. Kevin, not really sure. The plan is to have him go on Monday, shut him down, have him go on Monday. But then if he can't go Monday, then the plan will be Tuesday. Like, why wouldn't he be able to go Monday? I thought he was going to be healthy and ready to go. It sounds ominous. And as much as we talk about three-point shooting teams and matchups and everything, if McCullough and Hunter Dickinson are not out there, either or, obviously it makes it even more of an uphill battle. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. No K-State, no surprise. They do accept an NIT bid. Good for you, Jerome Tang. Even with the transfer portal opening up today, Tom Crean not happy with teams turning down the NIT since that was one of his favorite tournaments to play in. There was no reason to throw that L.
Ricochet shot for Tom Crean.
I mean, he's offering his thoughts. I agree with his rant.
I want as a Kansas fan, I love it. So,
Yeah. I mean, and for me to do that to Tom Crean, he did not deserve that. He seems like a really good guy.
Well, nobody's got it better than him and the Harbaughs. So
who's got it better than us? Nobody, except for Syracuse in the zone when Indiana was a number 1 seed and had 5'10" guards and couldn't get shots over the very tall, outstretched arms of the 2-3 zone of Syracuse. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back and continue rolling. We got the other storylines to get into the NCAA tournament. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 bid thieves this year. There were 0 last year. There are 5 this year. We'll talk a little bit about that. And I don't really talk much about teams that did not make it. I've always said win more games, but I am pretty disappointed, not necessarily about a team that didn't make it. It's the team overall, but really a player that we don't get to watch perform on the biggest stage. We're going to that next as well. 913-912-4810. More Zone next. WHB, Jason Anderson with you. Dylan Michaels, we head up until 2 o'clock. 913-912-4810. 913-912-4810 is the text line to join us. If you are filling out your bracket, you know, a couple things that I always look at when it comes to the NCAA tournament and filling out a bracket. One of those is that never to give anybody else advice ever in the history of bracket filling out anymore. Did that once, never again.
Or just give advice to people in your pool.
That's a great point. It's a great point. But, of course, the advice I give them, then it'll be right.
You're right, exactly. Murphy's Law.
Yes, this text says 913-912-4810. Text says, I have all my kids fill out a bracket and give the winner a prize. My son had UMBC beating Virginia. I made him change it. I also no longer tell people who to pick in their brackets.
That's tough. Actually, you can't fault that guy or text her at that at all.
Look, son,
99.999% of the time he was right.
Never happened before. It had never, ever in the history happened before. Son, it's not going to happen. Don't do that.
There's actually a Kansas cameo on the Cleveland show that's the exact situation almost. Yep.
I had a buddy that big dog lover filled out a bracket in the bracket contest or whatever with friends or whatever, and filled out just dog mascots. That year, Butler played UConn in the championship game, and he won the bracket because Butler and UConn, dog mascots, played in the national championship game because he just filled out only dog mascots winning. Flipped a coin on the others until they played a dog mascot, and then the dog mascot won. And it was Butler versus UConn in the national title. And Butler and UConn played each other in the national title. And he won the bracket that year. Now, he hasn't won a bracket since. His dog has not won a bracket since. I don't know, did his dog get the money? Did he put the money in doggy treats or whatever? But either way, that's the only reason he won is because he filled out just simply the dog mascots winning.
That's why all this is fun, though, is because you can be the most studious follower of college basketball and then also have that mentality and have a better bracket than people.
That's exactly right. You can study it all you want, man. But then, like, if you have some favorite team or you have a team you don't like, and you're like, you know what, I'm going to pick against that team. And then that, happens to work. I've said, and I've said it before, it's not hiding anything. If KU goes to the Final Four or wins a national title, there is zero chance I win that bracket. Because I have Kansas losing in the first round every year. There have been times I've been right, but it isn't because I studied it and went, this matchup, that matchup. It's just kind of on principle alone, In theory, I should do that every year with Missouri, too.
I do the opposite, actually. I pick my team to lose so that either way I win.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I do it.
Yeah.
So I had Missouri, what was it? Norfolk State?
Yeah.
I had them like in the Elite Eight or
Missouri in the Elite Eight?
Yep.
Oh, so if they went, therefore, you would at least feel good about your bracket.
Yeah, I'll keep taking
But
the
if
free
they
points.
lose, hell, that's fine. They lost.
I win either way.
Yeah. I did not have Norfolk State winning that game, oddly enough. No, I
didn't either.
I had Mizzou in the Final Four that year. That was the first mistake. Why didn't somebody tell me, hold on, son?
It's the reverse jinx.
Son, that's literally never happened before. You can't pick a Missouri team to go to the Final Four. It's never happened. In fact, I think a 16 seed will beat a 1 before Missouri goes to a Final Four. In fact, I think 2 16 seeds will beat a 1 before Missouri goes to the Final Four. Shut up, Dad. You don't know what you're talking about. Son of a. So I've got Samford in the Sweet 16. Just as a heads up for those that don't care. I've actually got Samford and McNeese State. I do think, in all seriousness, though, I think the winner of KU and Samford will be in the Sweet 16. I think they'll play McNeese State. I think the winner plays McNeese State and wins. Sorry, McNeese. They lost their statehood. So the winner will play McNeese in the round of 32 because I think they beat Gonzaga. Also, KU would then, Gonzaga's playing in Salt Lake City. It ain't that far from them. But yeah, One of the things that I haven't seen many people talk, when the bracket was released, one of my first reactions when they were releasing the bracket in the West, and North Carolina gets the 1 seed, and Arizona gets the 2, and my first reaction was, I wonder how many people are going to complain that North Carolina, if they play Arizona in the Elite Eight, will be in Los Angeles. North Carolina will be playing Arizona in L.A. in the Elite Eight. That very long trip from Arizona to L.A. as opposed to North Carolina. I don't have Arizona getting the Elite Eight. Anyway, I got Baylor. I got Baylor going to the Final Four. We'll get into Final Four picks later on in the show. 913-912-4810. Let's hear from Tom Crean. I wanted to play this clip. There are teams that have turned down the NIT. It's St. John's, Pitt, Memphis, Ole Miss, Indiana, Oklahoma, turned down the NIT bids. Here is Tom Crean. This was on last night's NIT selection show. K-State heading to the NIT, accepting that bid. Here's Tom Crean weighing in on teams that are turning down their NIT invitations.
There's no question about it. I would want to coach. I would want to develop my team. You've got bigger staffs than you've ever had. There's plenty of time for the portal. There's plenty of time to talk to recruits. There's plenty of time to negotiate NIL deals. There's not plenty of time to play. There's not plenty of time to get your players on the floor and give them a chance to get better. There's not plenty of time for guys to continue to play that may never get to play again. And that, to me, is absolutely ridiculous. It's each coach's choice. I get it. But if you take away a chance to play the games, to put your team on the floor, let them opt out. All right, the bowl season has it all the time. Let it happen. Who cares? Give your players and coaches a chance to keep coaching and playing, and don't shortchange. If a guy doesn't want to play, go sit down. If a coach doesn't want to coach, go recruit. But there's got to be enough people to put 5, 6, 7 people on the floor and go play. Makes absolutely zero sense to me.
So a few things on this, and we can expand on this a little bit. I completely get where Tom Crean is coming from. And there are a lot of that. There's a lot of those things that he says that I completely agree with. That there are players on the team that, are they voting? Is it the administration? Is it the coaches? Who's turning down the NIT bids, the invitations? Because that's part of the conversation, too. If the players vote to not play, well, I mean, what does that say about them? If the administration steps in and says, we're not playing, okay, well, then do you care about the kids and all of that stuff? And coaches, if they say, no, we've got things to do, we've got NIL, we've got transfer portal, his point is correct. Coaches talk about the best experience as game experience, getting out there and playing and getting out there and playing. Tyler Perry in North Texas, they went and won the NIT last year. He transfers to K-State, gets a bigger opportunity, but they played in the NIT. K-State, playing in the NIT, taking on 3-seed Iowa. Coming up on, it's tomorrow, because today's Monday, so it's on Tuesday. But to Tom Crean's point, developing players, you do that in games, and you get more time to play. The seniors, players that, might be playing their last games, get an opportunity to go out there and play more basketball. Are they going to be fully committed? That's difficult. The irony of the whole thing is the Power 5 conferences fighting with the NIT and the NCAA to get more automatic bids for the Power 5 teams and less for the mid-majors. And then you've got these Power 5 teams that are turning it down. Now, I know I've seen some people put out there that, well, Tom Crean, kind of a hypocrite. He's talking about turning down an NIT bid. When he was at Indiana, they turned down an NIT bid. Well, they didn't. In 2017, there was a lot of discussion about whether or not they would. The athletic director said they didn't want to play in the NIT because it was beneath Indiana to play in the NIT. They ended up turning down the home game because they were renovating Assembly Hall. But they ultimately relented and played in the NIT. Now, Tom Crean was then fired, so it wasn't exactly like Tom Crean was saying, we got to play in the NIT, I got to develop my team, because even when the NIT discussion was going on around Indiana, it was Tom Crean may not even coach in the NIT tournament anyway, because he's going to be fired. So I've seen that out there, and had they turned down the NIT, then yeah, there would be some certainly some egg on the face of Tom Crean. What I disagree with is Tom Crean hasn't had the coaching tenure in the NIL transfer portal era to the degree that as soon as the Selection Sunday brackets are revealed the next day, as soon as the conference tournament season is over, it is transfer portal season, and you're immediately recruiting. And you're working on NIL. His point's a good one. There are a lot of different coaches. There are a lot of different guys that can do that, but the head coach is ultimately the guy that's going to be responsible for those things and getting those players. Should be. The NIT starts pretty quickly. I think North Carolina fans are happy that they turned down the NIT last year. They turned down the NIT, and they went out and tried to revamp their roster immediately. They're a 1 seed in the tournament this year. If you are a power team, it is hard to drum up interest to play in the NIT. I'm not sure why Rick Pitino and St. John's aren't playing in the NIT, since it seems like that could be, more games and development for guys that are returning, or Rick Pitino's just simply going to go out there and revamp his entire team. I don't know. But I think teams that might be a collection of players that came together for 1 year, I can understand why they'd be like, nah, I'm not really wanting to play in the NIT. I can understand those things. But ultimately, it's about the NCAA tournament, right? It's about how do you make your team better to get to the NCAA tournament. I feel bad for some seniors if they ultimately wanted to play and they don't get that opportunity to play. But I don't think there's anything wrong with accepting the NIT bid, and if players want to opt out, they opt out. We see it in football. Now, there are 110 players on a football team with scholarships and walk-ons as opposed to 13 scholarship players. You might have a number of walk-ons out there that are just simply playing, and now what's the point? Are you even going to be competitive in getting ready to do that, and you're going to lose by 30 or 35 points, and you're practicing and all of that stuff to go and, get beat down by, 4 touchdowns in a game because you got some walk-ons playing? I do wonder if, and I don't know if it'll get to this because there's, money and bowl game experience, but as the college football playoff expands, and if it continues to expand, if you'll see power teams that say, well, we didn't make the college football playoff, we're not going to go to a bowl game. We're just going to do other things. The difference being you get those bowl game practices. And because there are so many players that end up returning for football, there are a lot of transfers, but you got so many guys that are returning, the bowl game practices are a big deal. The timing of this is what coaches complain about, and that the transfer portal's open right now, and we're seeing a lot of guys and a lot of names that are out there that, are going to be changing jerseys from 1 year to the next. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll wrap this hour. Coming up next. 2000. 01 Michigan State and 07 Florida, the repeat champions. I feel good about my UConn winning the whole thing. Though. I'm going out on a limb there. Really staying away from the chalk. It is the only 1 seed I have in the tournament, or the Final Four. So there's that. They'll probably be the only 1 seed that doesn't make it. You can head to 810WHB.com if you want to do that and be a part of the bracket challenge for Sports Radio 810, 810WHB.com. Hit the 810 bracket challenge button to enter. Presented by Mr. Davis, Dewey's, Truity Credit Union, Greengrass Cattle Company. We'll take a timeout. We'll hang out with Jack Johnson coming up next.
free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
Continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Shout out to Google Fiber as well, since the tournament coming up this week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and certainly on Thursday, Friday with all the different channels, TBS, TNT, True TV, CBS. When you're cutting the cord like we did, this will be our first NCAA tournament. You know, we cut the cord right before the football season, and that worked out just fine. But the first NCAA tournament with YouTube TV, and thankfully we've got Google Fiber, the award-winning internet without data caps, annual contracts, or hidden fees, and available up to 5 gigs now with 1 gig internet, the same price since 2012. So shout out to Google Fiber as well. We're talking some NCAA tournament. Jack Johnson hanging out with us here on Sports Radio 810. What's up, brother?
Hey, not much, man.
Well, hold on, Dylan. We got it now. Hey, let's start. Okay, 3, 2, and 1. Hey, shout out to Google Fiber. You know, being a part of the show as well. Yada yada yada. Bada ba ba beat to same price 2012. Let's talk some NCAA tournament. Jack Johnson hanging out with us. What's up, brother?
Not much, man. Glad to be here. It's a lot better. Round 2 here, take 2. But
Yes.
feeling good. Only hate the weather though.
Yeah, you know what? You're fine. It's all good. It's got a little March baseball feel to it. You know, a little nip in the air. You know,
Needs to be cloudy for that.
I know you're not in Arizona anymore, though.
No, not anymore.
So
Not anymore.
That's got to be tough for
It
you, man.
sucks.
Yeah, I apologize about that. That's too bad. Although it felt like Arizona at times, you know, this last week. The bracket released. Excited, nervous. You see KU's 4 seed. It's what I thought they would be, and you know, every single team is going to have some sort of an example of how tough the run is, but it seems interesting that the one weakness that KU has is like a couple of teams they may face. It's like, yeah, but what do they do best? That.
Exactly. I mean, that Samford team you would think is nightmare matchup, right? Shoot a lot of three-pointer. I think they shoot like 40%. So, or they 40% of their shots come from beyond the arc, and they're
And they
high
make 40%.
tempo. Yes, I mean they are a team that would seem like a nightmare matchup. But you know, I've always thought this with upset picks. Every time there's that one team that is like the quote unquote upset pick team, it's like you don't want that. You want to be that dark horse, the team that nobody's picking, then you pull off the upset. Like Samford's hearing all of this. Like Seth Davis picked 2 upsets in that same region, right?
Yep.
It had Samford and McNeese State meeting to go to the Sweet 16. So if you're Kansas,
So do I.
It's like, yeah, I would rather have that. I would rather have people picking Samford, even though they're a bad matchup for you, because now you kind of feel like, wow, we already knew people were against us. Now we're not even going to make it past the first round. I mean, you could say it's a nightmare matchup, but honestly, for KU fans, you get past that game, I think you like your draw. I think you like a Gonzaga or McNeese State. I think you like the fact that it's Purdue and not UConn in your region. So you never know what can happen, right? But I think for Kansas, you know, they at least know going in. You can't use the excuse of, oh my gosh, they shot 25% from 3. Now they're going to hit 10 against us. Like, no, they shoot it very well from deep. You got to be ready to go, and the scout team's going to have fun prepping for that game all week long.
The nightmare that I relive is a team that shoots 28% from behind the arc that hit 12 in the first round, Norfolk. One off the backboard as well. Like, that's the one where you're like, are you kidding me? They bank one in. This team does not shoot threes. They were daring him to shoot, and all of a sudden they just started raining them. If Samford does that, you know that going in. Like if Samford goes like 19 of 22 from inside the arc, you're like, all right, well, that's not necessarily something that they're going to be known to do because they're not a big team. I mean, their biggest player is 6'9", but he's 6'9", 200.
Yep.
You know, I mean, you've got even Johnny Furphy's 6'9", 215. So, I mean, so imagine a guy that's, 10, 15 pounds lighter than Johnny Furphy that's out there. That's their biggest guy. Their center is 6'7", 220, I think, as opposed to Hunter Dickinson, who is, listed 7'2". He's a true 7-footer, but 240, 250. So they've got the size on the interior that it would seem like they could run them off the three-point line. Just, I dare you to drive in there. Yep. We got KJ, we got Hunter Dickinson, we've got McCullough. If they're healthy, obviously that's a big part of it. But we're not going to let you shoot threes. We'll let you drive by. I'll run and close out hard. And if you want to drive by me, then that's fine. I feel like we got help on the interior.
That's the danger of being a team that lives and dies by the three-point line. Like if they're not falling, for example, on Thursday, KU has the capability of beating by 30. I mean, Purdue in Game 1 this year beat them by 53. They had the size. I mean, now Zach Edey's 7'5". I mean, we could say even without shoes, he's probably close to 7'5". But that's the problem for Samford is that, I mean, they make 15, 16 threes in this game. They're going to have a really good chance to knock off Kansas. But also, what does Kansas love to do? They love to play through the post. They've got love the high-low. And They can't stop that. Well, it doesn't matter if you knock down 13 threes because KU is going to be able to score at will. Now, we have also seen games this year where Hunter Dickinson's got the size advantage, but it's uncomfortable for him because they're swarming him down low, and KU, of course, can't hit it from beyond the arc. So to me, I think they're going to have a huge emphasis. I'd imagine Hunter Dickinson is at least close to 95%. It seems like what Bill Self is saying is that he's good. Don't know in Kevin McCullough. We may never know, to be honest with you. But I would imagine there's going to be a huge emphasis from the get-go of forcing the ball inside and saying, stop us, right? And if you can get them into foul trouble, who knows what their bench looks like. And, you can be fearful of the tempo, the three-point shooting, but when those two things don't go well, it doesn't just play in favor of Kansas. They've got such an advantage in that department if they can rebound, have those second chances, use their size, and just say, all right, shoot 43 pointers in this game. If you hit 8 of them, we're going to run you off the floor. And that should be the positive outlook on that.
Well, in KU, the advantage that you're talking about, what they have is that if they can dominate on the interior the way that they should be able to do, it becomes imperative that Samford hits threes. It's not a luxury that, hey, they can hit threes and they can outscore you from behind the arc. If you're outscoring that team by 15, 20 points, there's a lot of twos that you got to make to overcome all of those threes that Samford can make. Problem is, if KU's doing that, then their efficiency on the interior, they're scoring, every time down the floor, and then you have to hit the threes. Then you have to be shooting well from behind the arc if you're Samford. They've done that. 1 through 5, they shoot almost 40% across the board. Their worst three-point shooting percentage of any player in their starting 5 is 38%. Yeah. And that's their shooting guard, oddly enough. Their shooting guard is the lowest percentage. Now he's taking 150 of them, but he's making 38% as opposed to the point guard's making 39% on 40 attempts. Doesn't shoot many, but when he does, it's a little bit like DeJuan Harris. Doesn't shoot many, but when he does, he makes them.
Yep.
And that's their point guard. Their center, 45% has shot around the same amount as Hunter Dickinson. So they've got some of those things that are sort of aligned, but that is the thing that they will be needing, because if they don't do that, then you're right. This thing could get ugly, and KU can run away with it, because if healthy, we don't know about McCullough, today will be Hunter Dickinson in contact for the first time since that shoulder dislocated. Even Bill Self saying last night they expect Kevin McCullough to practice today, but he didn't say for a fact he was going to. Said, the plan was to shut him down and we'll see him on Monday. And if he can't go Monday, then we'll plan on Tuesday. Not he's going to practice tomorrow. Yep. If he can't go tomorrow, then we'll see about Tuesday. That was kind of an ominous. It didn't seem like there was a lot of positivity. There was a lot of confidence that was instilled in KU fans hearing that from Bill Self. But you've got this team that, if healthy, their starting 5 is fantastic. And there shouldn't be Samford hits a lot of threes. You know what? So does Baylor. And KU beat Baylor this year. So, Baylor's one of the top 3-point shooting teams in America. And they beat them. Kentucky is one of the top 3-point shooting teams in America. And they beat them. So it's not just you play a team that shoot threes, you're going to lose. You still got to play your game and go out there and win. I mean, Samford is also a smaller team, and they didn't go and undefeated. They won 29 games, so it's a pretty damn good team. They know how to win, but doesn't mean that they're going to go out there and make every three. I will say the one thing that would be worrisome from Kansas' standpoint is Bill Self talking about the swag and not having it and wanting to get it back. They're going to get a team in Samford that's showing up to play for their national title. And KU showing up to play for a 2-day tournament, win these 2 games and over the weekend, and then move on to the next weekend. We see it all the time when it comes to Cinderella. It's about that one game, and if they win, they've won. They've made history forever for their team. They're going to be facing a confident team that's going to go, let's let it fly, where KU's still trying to get their swagger and their shots and see if they can, get confident from behind the arc.
I think that's the great thing too about this draw is not that you want to look ahead. I mean, you can never win one game and go, well, now just wait till until we get to the Final Four. You don't do that, of course. But I think for this Kansas team, man, you get that first one out of the way and kind of the pressure falls off your shoulders. I mean, they've got maybe the least pressure we've seen of a Kansas team in quite some time because everybody has seen what's happened over the last few weeks. And not everybody, like we are locally, keep up the tabs with them. They're seeing these blowout losses. They probably saw against Houston, McCullough and Dickinson play, and they still lost by 30, right? They've seen some of those blowout losses where it's easy to write them off and go, well, they're not going to beat Samford, right? They're not going to beat McNeese State or Gonzaga. But to me, I think it's a better spot for this team to be in where you may not have your swagger right now, but I would hope you would take that channel and go, man, what if we just get one? And then what if we get two?
Mm-hmm.
I think if you get that Gonzaga matchup, it's not like those games in the past where you'd get Auburn. Last time when they were in Salt Lake, they got Auburn and got run off the floor. Right, a nightmare matchup. They were athletic, they were quick, they were big. USC, a few years later, they had the Mobley brothers. So you had a lottery pick. I'm not saying Gonzaga is a perfect matchup for them, but I don't know. I really feel like if they are healthy, Bill Self said this for quite some time now, that for the NCAA tournament, they may be the healthiest that they've been in a long time. The Kevin McCullough injury, I don't have the inside info or the knowledge. I don't think anybody really does.
Yeah.
But it feels like the bone bruise, that's pain tolerance. So if you can get him out there and healthy, and Dickinson is close to 90, 95%, well, then your bench, which has been such an issue, doesn't really become a factor because you don't need to play 8 guys off the bench. Pick one and roll with them and go with 6 guys. Now, for a team like Samford, a little bit more difficult because they're so high-tempoed. They're going to get up and down the floor. That can wear you down, especially if you have guys that are not 100%. But I don't know. I look at this game. I think if you're a Kansas fan, you want people picking Samford. You want people not being thrown off, and then all of a sudden you go, wow, Kansas won that game comfortably. Last year, I think it was Oral Roberts and Duke that had that, and everybody was jumping on Paul Mills and Oral Roberts, and Duke beat them by 30. Because you don't want to be the Cinderella that everybody is jumping on the back of. I mean, McNeese State has the same thing against Gonzaga, and we may look up on Friday, and then it's Kansas and Gonzaga to go to the Sweet 16. And I think if you're Kansas and you are healthy, you like that matchup. And then you get to the Sweet 16, you get to the second weekend, who knows? It could be Purdue. We've also seen Purdue lose in the first round before, and many times before.
Could be Utah State.
Exactly.
People
You never
like this
know.
Utah State team. I think the winner of Kansas and Samford goes to the Sweet 16. I don't think much of Gonzaga this year. And I think if Kansas gets past Samford, they'll get past McNeese.
Yeah.
So I have the winner of that one going to the Sweet 16. And we'll see if it's Purdue, like you said. We'll see whoever it's against. But it's a good point on, not wanting to be the team that everybody picks, not wanting to be the team that – because you mentioned Seth Davis sees it and goes, Samford over Kansas in this region right here. I mean, quickly. So if you're Kansas and you're at the watch party or whatever and you're hearing them talk about the bracket and immediately I look at this and I'm going Samford over Kansas, you're like – oh, well, bleep you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Samford's like, all right, yeah, hey, look at that. And you see more and more people that are like, okay, well, I heard this person break it down and say that Kansas is pretty rough against defending the three, and Samford makes a lot of them, and you get a team in the tournament that makes a lot of threes. I like the Samford team to go and pull off the upset, and that becomes the sexy pick of Samford when people haven't really watched him play, or haven't watched him play at all.
Yep.
You just hear I really like this matchup here. Like, I've got James Madison in the Sweet 16 because I'm not all that big on Duke, and I think James Madison is a good team and probably should have been ranked a little bit higher than a 12. They're a 31-win team. We've seen 30-win teams make runs, and even though Wisconsin made the run that they did, I'm not overly impressed with Wisconsin. So I went with James Madison. Who knows? They may lose by 30 in the first round. I have no idea. I've got Drake in the Sweet 16 because I love Drake. Not the university, but the man. Okay? But I do think that would be, as a quick aside, I am really hoping we get Drake Iowa State in Omaha in the round of 32 on Saturday.
That place would be absolutely. We already saw in Kansas City what Iowa State fans can do, but if you don't think they travel enough. I don't know anybody that would say they don't travel enough, but I mean they can take over an entire city, and then you add in Drake there. That would be one of the must-watch games. That's one I'm fingers crossed for that we can just get, but you never know with this tournament.
I'm pumped for that one. There's some others that I'm like, you know what, I really want to see this matchup. I really want to see these two teams match up against each other. That would be Drake and Iowa State. We wouldn't have to wait long. We would have to just wait to the round of 32. There are some other matchups that are like, man, the Sweet 16, if I can see Kentucky and Marquette, that would be a fun one, just up and down the floor, and how much fun that would be. If I can see like Bama Grand Canyon might be a fun one in the second round. So we'll see. But I think this Kansas team, while the obvious advantages are there for Samford, I think they'll definitely be prepared and ready to go, and they've played much better teams than Samford this year. They should win. No excuses to lose this one, unless, of course, you say, well, McCullough and Hunter Dickinson did not play. All right, well, what kind of team is Kansas then? If Hunter Dickinson and McCullough are not playing, it's a vastly different Kansas team. There's no getting around that. They play a different style. You are relying on guys that are ancillary pieces, that are role players, to step up and play bigger roles. They not necessarily can do that, because if a player could just do that and become that player, they wouldn't have been the role player to begin with. They would have found a way to become the guy in some way, shape, or form. I am curious about Nick Timberlake. If this is last week, it was all right, he's just going to play free. You can just play free and go out there and just play your game. And I heard, I think it was Nate that was talking about it during the introductions, that it just didn't look like the guys that were stepping in, the facial expressions, the body language didn't look like they were ready to step in and go, all right, let's do this. It looked like they were more nervous and concerned and like, is the moment too big for me? Nick Timberlake went to Kansas to play in the tournament. It's why he went there. If he didn't want to play in the tournament, he could have gone to some other smaller school and scored 20 points per game. But he chose Kansas because he wanted to play in the NCAA tournament. Okay, here you go. Go out there and show that Samford doesn't have the best shooters on the floor. Go be that guy that can stretch the floor and open it up for Hunter Dickinson when it should be a massive advantage for KU. It's a massive disadvantage for Samford when Hunter Dickinson is on the floor. We also don't know how effective he'll be with only one healthy shoulder.
There's so many different factors for this entire team of how they can put it together, when they can put it together. And, I think for now, months now, I'm not going to say weeks, months now, it's been, well, you take one bench player's performance and you go, now he goes.
That's
right? If Dickinson's not healthy, well, somebody's got to step up. And you would think with guys stepping in no-pressure situations, like there was last week in Cincinnati, that it's, what do we got to lose here? Everybody's already saying we're done, and that it'd be good for us to not go deep in this tournament. And, yeah, they pucker up a little bit. But I don't know if it's a physical thing. I mean, you look across their bench, Marco Jackson was a McDonald's All-American, right? Parker Brown's been around the block. He's played a long time in college basketball. Nicholas Timberlake is 25 years old, and he has been successful at the Division I level. I think it's all mental with them. And I think then it goes up top to the guys that are playing right now, the starting five, the guys that are getting big minutes. It's mental as well. We've seen Johnny Furphy. Now he's 17. You're always going to go up and down when you're 17. But I think a lot of this is all mental. And I think that's why it's interesting Bill Self brought up this swagger element, because we've seen this team play with swagger. When they beat the brakes off Houston, I mean, Kevin McCullough's dunking and yelling into the mic. I mean, Hunter Dickinson's doing the third leg thing as he's hitting the three-pointer. I mean, that's the team that Bill Self wants to see. But when they're not having the confidence, we see what happened on Wednesday against Cincinnati. It's all mental for them. And if you play this Samford team, I'm sorry, you can't have this lack of confidence in yourself. There is no tomorrow at that point. If you come in and you're not confident in yourself, you can't be out there on the floor. These are good teams you're going to face the rest of the way, and they've got confident guys, but maybe for them it's as simple as, we got to beat somebody badly. We got to beat somebody by 20, and Samford could be that team. Or even if you just get past them, win by 5, it's still moving on, and wins can do a lot for 18 to, I guess, now 25-year-olds with Nicholas Timberlake in college hoops.
We'll take a timeout, come back, we'll continue rolling. I'm going to look at the overall NCAA tournament. We'll talk some Royals. We'll continue rolling. Josh Kaiser will be our guest coming up at noon, One Royal Way podcast. Mick Schaefer in the 1 o'clock hour. We will reveal one of the regions in our bracket of sound coming up later on in the show with Mick Schaefer. We'll continue rolling, hanging out with Jack Johnson. More Zone next. Talk with Josh Kaiser at noon. Mick Schaefer will join us in the 1 o'clock hour. We will reveal a region in our bracket of sound today. We got a region tomorrow, and then we'll reveal the final two regions in our bracket of sound coming up on Wednesday, in which expected to be, I mean, look, the tournament's always crazy. We know that. It's always going to be one of those to where, you know, you pick chalk and you look dumb, except 2008. Then if you don't pick chalk, it's like, well, how dumb are you? The one time that all four number one seeds make it, and I had no one seeds making it. But we saw 25 non-one seeds win their conference tournament this last week, which was the second most in the last 25 years. So we've already seen the craziness. We've got 5 different bid thieves this year, which I talked on Friday, and we had one. We had one at the time, and it was like Duquesne, you know, knocking out and still playing. We knew that there was going to be some sort of a bid thief in that conference tournament, but we end up with 5 of them this year. There were 0 last year. There were 0 bid thieves last year, and we've got 5 already. And 5 of the top 6 teams in the AP lost their conference tournament, and a number of them didn't even make it to the semifinals. Tennessee lost their first game. Kentucky lost their first game. Creighton lost their first game in the conference tournament. North Carolina State was the second 10 seed to ever win their conference tournament. First one being Xavier in 2016. They ended up losing in the first round. Oregon in the Pac-12 wins it, steals a bid. Duquesne steals a bid. American Conference, UAB steals a bid. And then we find out that the selection committee chair McClellan said that New Mexico wouldn't have made it if they did not beat San Diego State. Like, what is it? How did we? So we know that they were the 5th bid thief. I'm not sure that we look at this New Mexico team and be like, yeah, they aren't deserving of being in the tournament, but make sure we get Virginia in the tournament on a play-in game. The number 53 ranked team in the net, and in the 60s of Ken Pom. Make sure you get Virginia in there with their 3 quad 1 wins playing in the freaking ACC. Let's do that.
It's unwatchable basketball. Virginia is, and it's weird how the committee breaks down all these teams. And maybe it's branding too. Maybe you look at a school like Virginia has won a title, as we talked about on the break, and it's like, no, they're a shoe in here because a couple of quad 1 wins and Tony Bennett's won a championship. And if New Mexico lost, we're not putting them in there because they hated the Mountain West. We know the committee hated the Mountain West and did not want to see multiple teams in there. But no, that's an absolute joke that it would even have to be thought of when we got Virginia, who's going to score 40 points tomorrow night, and maybe win. Who knows? It might be 40 to 38 in the end. The total's
it's going to be a high school basketball.
The total is ugly. It's going to be a JV basketball game, and it's going to be unwatchable. But we'll watch it anyway because it's a tournament.
Yeah, that's that. You know what? That's my kind of game. JV basketball. That's where I'm most comfortable.
Lots of whistles.
We get that JV basketball game going. All right, here's where Anderson shines. I'm just gonna shoot. Let me get some threes up here in the JV game. Do you see that, varsity coach? He didn't see it. He doesn't care. You're a 5th-year senior, man. You got held back, and you're still playing JV. It's not even allowed. You had to get a different birth certificate to say you were younger so you could play JV basketball. Not like the kids in elementary school that kid's 15. He's 9. He's the 9-year-old.
9.
It's 9U. He drove here. Come on, man.
He's got a mustache.
He shaved this morning. What are you talking about? That kid's not 9U. Come on. But yeah, there's some other cool storylines in this tournament. Duquesne, we were talking about in the break of Kentucky, that some matchups and things like that, and Kentucky losing to St. Peter's a couple of years ago. Duquesne has 2 players that were on that St. Peter's team that went to the Elite Eight 2 years ago, and their head coach, realize this, I didn't know this, the head coach is LeBron's high school coach at Duquesne. So the head coach at Akron at St. Mary's for LeBron is the head coach of Duquesne. And they got 2 players that played in the Elite Eight a couple of years ago for St. Peter's. It's an interesting story for one particular team that stole a bid from somebody out there.
I don't know if you caught this either, but you see the confetti fall in the second half of that. And I thought, that's when I actually tuned into this game. And
you saw the confetti fall?
I had seen it, and I was like, man, they've already got that curse of they have not been to the tournament since 1977.
Right.
And if that happens and they lose, that might be the story that we're talking about more than most today.
I loved that they were tracking it during the game since the confetti fall. VCU's on an 8-0 run since the confetti fell. They started tracking from that before and after of the confetti falling during the game. That was fantastic, man. We also saw Yale ends up winning, and it was an actual buzzer beater yesterday. Yale beating Brown. Brown would have been a really cool story because they hadn't made the tournament since '86, and they were 6-17 on the season at one point. And they've rattled off like 10 wins in a row. And they were one defensive possession or somebody actually guarding a guy on the block away from, or you know what, hitting one of their 5 free throws or hitting more than one of their last 5 free throws would have made a difference in them winning that game. But missing the free throws, Yale hitting threes, and then that final possession. But heartbreaking for Brown. But that would have been a really cool story of, man, this team was 6-17. So really, you look at some of these teams, hey, anything can happen. You can turn it around and win your conference tournament. NC State has no business being in the tournament from where they were at this time last week. And they win 5 games in 5 days, which is unheard of. It's one of the more improbable things we've seen in the ACC tournament. And we get a couple of these teams this go around that have, gone out and actually earned it to be in this tournament.
Well, I think even one more of that with these mid-major tournaments, how it's just that auto bid, right? You had a team like Brown that almost got it. I mean, you heard the story of the Long Beach State coach.
Oh, Dan Munson, dude, that's amazing.
I mean, that's one. I love how it can be a middle finger to, the higher ups at universities.
Administration fires you.
Can't you just wait till this is over? I mean, we never really see it in the Power 5 realm. We never really see, the the 13 or the 14 seed in the Big 12 rattle off 5 wins in 5 days. But in the mid-major tournaments, it's different, which is why I'd never be in that position to fire a coach or keep him on. But it's like, why not just wait and see what happens, then make your decision? But now he gets to sit here, and they're not going to go far. Maybe they do. Maybe they write off a win or two, but the bed's already been made. I mean, you already look foolish for that, and that's what's so cool about a lot of these teams winning, having those auto bids. I mean, Duquesne, of course, first time since 1977. You brought up Brown since 1986. Hadn't been in there. I mean, even the teams playing tomorrow night. I mean, Howard and I'm blanking on who the other team was, but they're 15 and 16 and 15 and 15.
Oh, Wagner.
Yeah. I mean, and even last year, Farley Dickinson, I think, was like 16 and 15. And you're like, okay, you get your – because I think they were a bye win. Or I think they had to play in to get to the NCAA tournament, and then they won. Yeah. So at UMBC, when they beat Virginia, they were a team that was like 2 games over 500. So that, to me, is the cool part about this all. And it's the best thing about March Madness, really, is that you slowly start to get close with these teams that may not go far. They may lose by 50 in their first game. But we've got these storylines now, and maybe it's recency bias, but it feels like in this year more than years past, there's a lot of these crazy storylines, like Duquesne with LeBron's high school coach going to be there. Long Beach State's coach is not going to be employed, I guess, whenever they're done here. And then a lot of these teams that barely snuck in because of those auto bids. It's heartbreaking for those teams that won 26, 27 games, and they lose their conference tournament, and then they can't get in to March Madness. But also, got to win those games. Yeah. They've known that for years.
And then a team that I'll be pulling for in the first round, WKU, Western Kentucky. They lose their best player in the semifinals in Dante Allen, former Kentucky Wildcat, that transferred to WKU. They also lost their 7'5" center to the transfer portal last year, and they go as a 3 seed, and they end up winning Conference USA's automatic bid. But again, they go into the championship game the night before they lose their best player, and they still find a way to get it done. I don't know if he's going to play against Marquette. I would love for him to be out there and playing against Marquette, but he's got a bone bruise in his knee. And we've seen that. We saw how it affected Travis Kelce, the bone bruise. We've seen how it's affected Kevin McCullough. I don't expect him to play, which sucks because it kind of cripples, a chance for them to win against the Marquette team. But, you never know if they can make that run. And that would be an interesting story if they were to play UK with a former UK player there. But it's probably not going to happen. But yeah, the conference tournament season has just been unbelievably crazy, and it should only lead into what is the actual tournament. Do you have your Final Four teams? Have you filled out your bracket? Are you filling out 10 brackets or filling out one and that's it?
One.
I'm the
because
same
I
way.
need to be invested in one. I can't be like, well, I picked them to win in one bracket, but I'm like, no, it's stupid.
Because then you'll end up middling both of them.
Exactly.
Yep. Boy, if I'd have had this
one
one
of getting screwed up.
I had 2 different 4-leg parlays. If I would have had this one and that one or that one, I'd have won both of them. That's so dumb. But yeah, I'm a one bracket guy. Fill it out, stay with it, and it's not going to win anyway. Who are your Final Four teams?
Yeah, I'm looking at it now, and this is probably going to get me burned because a lot of the teams I have in here have coaches that have not fared well in the NCAA tournament. I've got Houston. I just think even though they got shellacked by Iowa State, defense is too good. They're going to be such a tough matchup for anybody. Of course, being a 1 seed, but I got them and Creighton. I'm really high on Creighton. I think Creighton can make a deep run. Then this is where it gets kind of confusing, and I'm looking at it and regretting it a little bit. I got Alabama in the Final Four. I think that length, size, athleticism. I think Nate Oates is a good coach. He may not be a likable guy, but I think he's a good college basketball coach. And then I got Brad Underwood's Illinois Fighting Illini here.
You and I are really close to having some of the same ones and maybe the same thought process. I've got Houston and Kentucky playing in the Elite Eight. I've got Kentucky winning that one, so it's close to it. I think going to the Final Four of the Midwest is the winner of Creighton and Tennessee. I went back and forth on that one, and I went Tennessee, but I was close to putting Creighton in the Final Four. So I'm with you on that one. And then I've got the winner of Baylor and Bama going to the Final Four out of the West. Coin flip, I went with Baylor in that one. And then I've got the winner of UConn and Illinois. Going to the Final Four. So we're right there. It's just a couple of coin flips here or there in games that'll probably coin flip games, in those. But I don't think you're far off with Bama because they can score. They can get to 100, and if you're going to be getting to 100, then they may not play great defense, but they are challenging the other team to match them. They're going to score. You better score with us. And Baylor can score with a lot of them, and they, the best 3-point shooting team in America is Baylor. So, yeah, this is I have no idea. Like in the West, I was looking through the West, and I'm like, North Carolina, Arizona, Baylor, Bama. Like I could see any of those teams in the Final Four. I could also see none of those teams in the Final Four. I just don't know who I would pick if none of those teams were in the Final Four. But I also look at last year and go, well, I wouldn't have picked Florida Atlantic. I wouldn't have picked San Diego State because I didn't. Dude, I didn't even think there was even close to it. The only time I've ever gotten close with something like that is I was doing the Selection Sunday show in Louisville, and we were having fun with fake takes, just like, making something up. And I picked out a team, and I was like, I go, you know what? Let me tell you about this Loyola Chicago team. They can play with anybody in America. They've got an amazing starting five, and I quickly looked up. Porter Moser is a guy that could be coaching anywhere in America right now. This Loyola team is good. They play together. They play sound basketball. They are not going to get caught off guard by anybody. I wouldn't be surprised if Loyola's in the Final Four. Completely made it up. I just threw a dart as a team because we were doing fake takes on the air. That's the only one I've been close to getting right, and I did it as a joke. So that's how great I am in prognosticating some of these things and Cinderellas and sleepers and chalk or whatever.
That's how it has to be in the NCAA tournament. Nobody really knows how this is going to go down. Like that's why I've got a little bit more of the upsets. I have Dayton and Clemson playing in the Sweet 16. Dayton getting to the Elite Eight. That's what I think about the West region.
Yeah.
But there's no true validity to this. There's I can't go game by game, break it down as to why it makes sense. I could bring up Ken Palm. I could bring up all these analytics, all this data, and I could have all 1 seeds there. I could make a case, hey, these are all the best teams in the tournament, and then something like last year happens where Florida Atlantic gets there. Yep. Florida Atlantic plays Kansas State to go to the Elite Eight. I bet you nobody had that in their bracket, but it happened, and that's why.
Go to the Final Four.
Go to the Final Four, yeah. I mean, it's just. And then you have San Diego State, UConn. UConn was a buzzsaw. They beat everybody by double digits at that point. Who thought that was possible? They had lost in their conference tournament. So, to me, you're better off just, as you said, throwing darts on a board and picking teams. Or pick your favorite mascot. I've seen people do better than me doing that.
We talked about it, that I had a buddy that won the bracket pool that he was in because he's a dog lover and picked all dog mascots, and Butler and UConn played in the title that year.
There you go.
And he won the bracket, man. You never know. There's, you got kids that went. Briscoe's sisters won the 8-10 challenge a couple times, right? Hadn't she finished higher than any other 8-10 on-air personality at times? And somebody texted in earlier, it's like, is Briscoe's sister still going to be in the 8-10 bracket challenge? I would hope. I mean, she's got to defend her at one point title, so she's got to continue to. It's like the Masters. She gets an invite every single year. Once you win once, you have a lifetime exemption that you're going to be invited there. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. I do want to talk some Royals baseball with what's going on down in spring training. Opening day starter. We got some rookies, some prospects playing a game against Milwaukee yesterday. That was a lot of fun with the breakout game. So we'll do some of that on the other side of the break. More Zone next. He's an idiot. What are you doing? Why would you pick those teams? I didn't even ask you who you have winning the whole thing. I just asked who your Final Four picks were. Who do you have winning the whole thing?
Houston.
Houston winning the whole thing.
I got to.
I went with WKU winning the whole thing. I thought that was I just went out on a limb as a 15 seed. That
best
may
mascot.
not even exactly Big Red.
Big Red
may not even be playing with their best player, but just something about it. I'm not really sure. Yeah, God, stupid picks that he had in the Final Four. I don't know. I don't know how you're going to explain that to people when you go and tell them. Don't tell anybody in public that that's what you did.
No.
All right, don't do that.
Lips sealed.
Yes, the public now knows Cole Reagans is starting March 28th. I was wondering if they would go Cole Reagans or Michael Waka, and he goes with Cole Reagans. I got a view on this as to if there's anything to glean or a message there from Q. But what do you think of going with Cole Reagans over Waka?
This was the perfect pick and one I never thought they would actually do. I thought it was going to be Waka for sure. I think it was lining up, too. You starting every fifth day, then the rainouts happen, so I'm like, maybe I shouldn't put too much merit into it. But this is perfect because of the offseason they've had, right? They've been so aggressive. They signed Bobby Witt Jr. to a long-term deal. And we all know with baseball, you don't have many sellouts, right? Opening day, I'm assuming if it's not a sellout, it's going to be close to a sellout. Pablo Lopez is going to go in for Minnesota. Does Cole Reagans or Michael Waka sound better for that game? It's Cole Reagans. I mean, he's the guy that everybody is putting, the pressure on, the heat on. And I've talked with people that are like, I don't like that for a guy who's never had 30 starts in a season. I'm like, every time we've talked to Cole Reagans, he's like, I want this pressure. I want to be the one. This is something I've dreamed of. Give me that type of pressure because I want it. I don't want to be this dark horse candidate for a Cy Young and I'm the number 3 in a rotation, right? I am the number 1. He's got the ace stuff. And what I love that Matt Quatraro said, he's like, we expect him to be the guy in this rotation. It's not, well, we signed Waka and Lugo to ease him into that expectation. He's got the stuff. He's got this ability. This is the most premier starter they've had on opening day. I would probably need to give credit to James Shields here and say James Shields would be that guy, or when Yordano Ventura started in 2015. But if we're being honest, in terms of league-wide popularity, this might be the most high-profile guy they've started on opening day since Greinke. Yeah, that to me is as far as you can go with that. It may not go well, or it may go really well, but you've got this sold-out atmosphere. Everybody's got hope, this optimism, and then you've got a dark horse Cy Young against a dark horse Cy Young. You can't hope for anything more than that on opening day.
I love the message there from Matt Quatraro. My view of it when we, I first learned that, Cole Reagans was named the opening day starter, I'm like, because for this entire time I thought it was going to be Michael Waka because it's a safe choice. He's been there, done that. He's got a number of innings. He's a veteran. All right, he's been in the spotlight before. He knows what it's like to be out there with the pressure on him. He won't fold in the pressure. Like, he's been there, done that. It's the safe choice. The Cole Reagans, to me, that decision was we're not playing safe right now. We're playing to go and win. And this is our best pitcher that we have stuff-wise. And also, you did this for us last year. We've worked with you in the offseason. Just because we went out and signed somebody that's really good doesn't mean they automatically take your spot. Okay, we also have belief in the guys that are here with this team, the guys that have earned it. We went out last year and we asked guys to go improve your spot. We asked guys to go and hear the opportunities, show that you're going to take advantage of the opportunities. Those that didn't, we're moving on. Those that did, you're a part of it. And Cole Reagans, we acquired you. We liked what we saw with you, and you took advantage of that opportunity, and you've done this in the offseason and in spring training. Just because we've seen it more from Michael Waka, no, I'm going to go with Cole Reagans. I'm going to go with the guy that's got the stuff, that's got the best opportunity to give us the win, who can be dominant, and who is a guy that's been a part of the Royals organization a little bit longer than Michael Waka. It wasn't the safe choice, and I loved that from Quatraro because it's a message with other guys of he's earned it, he's the best we have. That's what we're going with. We're going to go meritocracy, and bringing in Michael Waka means that we've got depth here. We've got other guys that can go, but they're not just granted a spot and going to be named without seeing what they can do and just automatically passing guys that are with the organization just because we went out and signed them in the offseason.
Yeah, last year it felt like it was the safe pick. They went with 39-year-old Zach Greinke on opening day, and of course all Royals fans are going to love that because you're nostalgic about it. I used to watch Zach throw on opening day all the time, but we forget about those times in between when you'd have Gilmesh on opening day. You'd have Luke Hochevar back when he was still a starter on opening day. You had, I remember a couple of Royals home openers. You had like Sidney Ponson. It was like just nothing really felt big about it. Yes.
Brunelvis Hernandez opening day starter. Come on.
It never had that feel to it. And I love that the Royals seemingly in one offseason have changed their identity and what we think they can do. They seem to go the other way with it. It was like they go in the offseason like, well, they're going to sign one guy like Seth Lugo and be done. Then they went and got Walker. They didn't just overhaul the bullpen. They basically replaced the entire bullpen. They're adding pieces here and there. We didn't think they'd sign Bobby Wood Jr. to a long-term deal. They signed Bobby Wood Jr. to a long-term deal. And with Ragans, I always kind of just chuckled at people saying, well, don't put that on him. The Royals can't do that to a guy who's only 26 years old. He's had 2 Tommy Johns. Like, if we think Cole Ragans is just not acknowledging this Cy Young talk, being the next ace of this team, he's hearing all of this.
Yes.
So, and even though it's opening day, it's a big honor, right? Every pitcher will tell you it's a huge honor. But after this game, you're just throwing every 5th day. It's not like every time you're throwing, it's a sold-out crowd. You'd hope for that to happen.
Yeah,
but after opening day, it's just every 5th day. It didn't really matter if it was Walker or Ragans. But for what this offseason is meant, for what Cole Ragans means to the Royals, this was the perfect pick. This was the right guy to go with.
Yeah, I'm pumped and I'm excited they did. I don't think he did it for this reason, but I think you get more tickets. I think you get more excitement with Cole Ragans of people being out there and going, all right, this is a year where, I was talking with a buddy on Saturday, and he hasn't kept up with a lot of what's going on in the offseason. It's like, so what do you think of the Royals this year? They're going to be any good? I'm like, yeah, man, I'm pumped. He's like, really? So I started explaining everything. He's like, dude, I have been out of it, man. He's like, they got Waka,
Yeah.
It's funny because we live in this world, and everything that goes on, we're studying and breaking it down and talking about it and all of that. And then you've got people that live their lives, and they're also like, yeah, no, I love going out to the Royals game. How are they going to be this year? Like, yo, Michael Walker's a dude. They got him. They got some.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they got some dudes. He's like, oh, wow, I didn't think that they were going to be that. You know what? Cool. He's like, we'll be going to opening day. Like, even that, we're going to opening day.
Exactly.
We'll be there because that's just sort of what we do. I didn't know how good they were going to be, Start studying it when it gets closer to the season. But, I just I'm pumped, and I'm glad they chose Cole Ragans.
This was the guy.
Yep.
This was the guy. This is who you needed.
Jack, thank you for stopping by, man. I appreciate it. Fix your Final Four pick. Come on.
I got time. I got time. I got a full day to change it up.
That's right, because starting tomorrow night, you want to make sure Colorado State is in the Final Four before they play.
1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Dylan Michaels, we head up until 2 o'clock. Mick Schaefer will join us in the 1 o'clock hour. We will reveal one of our regions in the bracket of sound and get some Learn Funniest Best with Mick Schaefer. Looking at some NCAA tournament stuff as well. And we have yet to really talk about some of the L'Jarius Sneed conversation that's out there and what that may mean. We're going to do that here in this hour, but not right now because we're going to talk with Josh Kaiser from KCSN, host of One Royal Way podcast, joining us here in the zone on this Monday. Josh, what's up, man? How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing? Appreciate you having me.
Well, I appreciate you joining us. We're here to talk about Cole Reagans being a 1 seed in the East region and Trevor Werner getting an 8 seed in the Midwest. Those were one of those was not a surprise. The other one sort of came out of nowhere for me. What do you think of the bracket and the selection committee making those decisions?
I'm into it. Obviously, Cole Reagan's a very good 1 seed, but I'm a big Trevor Werner guy. So got to look out, Cole Reagan, because that dude's right on your heels. Big upset alert there.
Okay, very good. Let's talk some Royals baseball. We ended the last hour discussing it, so I want to get your thoughts on it as well. The news coming down yesterday, and it is Matt Quatraro naming Cole Reagans the opening day starter. I'll just ask in general your reaction to Cole Reagans getting the nod to start against the Twins on opening day.
I think you and Jack both nailed it. It was a big surprise for me, which has been the story of the offseason seemingly. I was with you both that Michael Wacha was probably the main candidate because he was the safe guy. He was the guy that was predictable, and that was just the kind of storyline, the kind of profile that we've seen in the past. It was just going to be the safe guy. But no. It's Cole Reagan's time, baby, and it's time for him to lead this staff. And like you both said, I was kind of saying along one, it doesn't really matter. I mean, he's the guy who gets the first day, the first opening pitch, and it's kind of a cool honor, but it doesn't matter in the end. You kind of hope that across the entire rotation you have 5 solid guys that you can depend on. Cole Reagan, he has the best stuff. He is the most exciting, which is very cool, but it's just kind of a weird overrated thing, I think, at this point. But it was very cool to see them do something that was kind of surprising.
Is there a message to it? You heard the conversation in the previous segment, but I'll ask you as well. Is there a message that you got from this, that Quatraro naming Cole Reagans, or is this just simply, hey, somebody's got to go the first game, and then after that you're pitching every 5 days? But is there something bigger to glean from him making this decision, Cole Reagan's going out there opening day?
What I'm taking out of it is it's go time. It's not, and I've said this a few times, last few times I've been there, it's go time. We're not waiting around for the ifs to kind of develop. It's time to go. And they've gone out of the way to build up Wacha as a leader, and loving how much they bringing Seth Lugo can mean to the rotation, and the strides that Brady Singer has taken over the last the off season. They've been really pleased and gone out of their way to kind of hype those up. Yet Cole Reagans is still the guy that they're starting on opening day. So I think that message right there. We're wanting the best guy to be in the, have the most opportunities possible. We're going to weaponize this rotation to be able to stress that part. So it is more of the same for me. It's go time. It's time to go, and we're going to put the best 26 guys out there as much as we possibly can.
There's a status to it, though, right? I mean, the status of you are starting opening day is essentially saying, as long as everybody's healthy, but essentially saying you are the ace of our staff. Are you an ace in baseball? Well, there are very few of those, but you are the ace of our staff. You are the best one. You are the leader of the staff. And when you talk about it being go time, I'm with you on that. The safe pick would have been Michael Wacha. And last year, opening day against the Twins was fun because Zach Greinke got the start. And it was like, dude, this is awesome. Let's go watch Zach Greinke pitch. He's back with the Royals. This is so cool. This is great. And it's not like he pitched terribly. I mean, but it was Zach Greinke's the leader of our rotation. Why? Because we got a bunch of unproven guys, and then we got an innings eater. So who's the leader? This veteran guy that can help lead these guys into the next phase of their career. You can get something more from Bubic or Lynch or whoever it is. Singer, even though the World Baseball Classic and the innings and things that we talked about last year in the offseason. You know what? It's Zach Greinke. That was the safe choice. That was we are figuring some things out this year. We're going to go with our veteran guy, and while we figure out where guys sit. Your point is absolutely spot on. It's go time. It's not about the veteran guy that'll be safe and eating innings. It's about the guy that gives you the best chance to go out there and win against the team that's supposed to win your division because he's got the nasty stuff, and he's the one that will lead our staff. He's the ace of our staff, which is a status symbol.
Yep, and I do wonder how inside the clubhouse how much of a status symbol it is. It is very sexy in the outside that clubhouse. But
it can be sexy inside the clubhouse too. I don't know. I haven't seen it.
I mean, I'm not here to extinguish those flames. Yeah. I'm not even close to give me all the sexy. But from the outside the clubhouse, it's definitely the sexy pick. And I think if you look and talk to any of those pitchers on that staff, they're all trying to do what they need to do to pull their weight and to put their team in the best position to win. And I just think that that's how a big league rotation should kind of carry themselves. But it is a lot of fun to dream on what Cole Reagan's to be. And if you want to start talking about Cy Young awards with him, then I think starting him and trying him out there on opening day kind of starts you get that ball rolling with the notoriety on a national level. And I think that's kind of what they're looking for.
When's the last time that you felt like the Royals went out there with at least four guys that when they took the mound you had a chance to win? Is it 16?
I don't want to answer that because every year is probably the answer for me personally. I remember tweeting something to the effect like Bruce Chin and Luke Hochevar are fighting for that fifth rotation spot. I'm so excited about where it is, and they were
come on, Chin.
Bad. So yeah. I love me a Bruce Chin, but that's kind of tough. But your point remains. Like, these are four legitimate starters, and in a very competitive fifth spot in that rotation that may belong to Alec Marsh at this point. The front runner of Jordan Lyles, the safe pick, the one that we were predicting to be the case, is no longer safe at all. I think it's a three-man race for sure, and it's coming down to the wire. So we've got four guys that on a national level are. People know who they are. They see the upside in those guys. They see what they're bringing to the rotation. It's no longer if something works out. It's this should work out. And then at that point, the ceiling for Reagans, the ceiling for Singer, that's really what's going to put everybody over the edge, I think, at this point.
2016, their top four in starters in games started Edinson Volquez, Ian Kennedy, Yordano Ventura, and Danny Duffy. And that was a 3.68 Ian Kennedy as a starter that year. In almost 200 innings. So it was Volquez coming off the World Series, Ace coming off the World Series, Danny Duffy moving more into that every fifth day role, and Ian Kennedy. I think that's the last time where you say, you know what, 4 times there are 4 spots in this rotation, 4 out of 5 times when that guy's on the mound, we feel good that we can win this game. And legit, not just like, oh, I'm excited if this happens or that happens, or if this happens, if that happens, this guy might be pretty good. Like, if the Royals are going to the mound with Reagans and Waka and Lugo and Singer, I feel pretty good when that guy's on the mound, that they've got a chance to win that game no matter who they're playing. Doesn't mean they will. Doesn't mean that they're going to be above 500. Doesn't mean they're going to ultimately be competing in August. But it just has a feeling of optimism that there's a more professional rotation that's going to the mound, that you feel like is a more professional ball club out there, that you're not going, oh, God, can you score 6 runs today to make up for all of the runs that this person's going to give up in the first couple 3 innings? And are you going to kill your bullpen today? And do you got to go with an opener because you just don't have anybody else right now, and go with Johnny Holstaff out there for the game because these other guys aren't pulling their weight?
Yeah, and that's a great example, a great comparison, because Yordano had plenty of ceiling to carry that staff as well at the time. So that's a great example of what it could be. Hopefully the the results are a bit better as a whole on the team. So hopefully that's a little bit better than 2016 was. But yeah, that's a great comp. I think that like you said, a mature rotation is kind of what
good way to put
you probably say it was as well. So I have high hopes for where this rotation could go, and I really do think that the overall team success does run through that starting rotation.
If you're picking today, 10 days before opening day, who do you think is the fifth starter?
I know. Feet to the flame.
It's not a coin flip because it's like, is there a coin with three sides?
Yeah, right. That's not that I know of, but I would be very curious about how that would be functional. That would be very interesting. I think feet to the flame, I'd still probably go Jordan Lyles. Daniel Lynch did have a pretty good outing this last week. Gave up hits, didn't strike out a bunch of guys, but that is Daniel Lynch. Didn't give him any runs up either. So I think that's what you're gonna kind of come with. I don't think if I had to rank them, I would go, I don't know, Lyles probably a 34%. Daniel Lynch is a 33.5%, and then Alec Marsh is
whatever's left over.
It is truly that close. Yeah. I'm not a big math guy, but I do love percentages for whatever that's worth.
I love that.
But I do think it is truly that close, just because they're going to need inventory, and if you're going to keep even putting Lyles in the swing man role and starting either Lynch or Alec Marsh in the rotation, I think you're still kind of, I don't know, compromising the depth at the starting position role. That they don't necessarily need to do that at this point, but at the same time, I think that's the safe pick. And what we do know that, like we've said, they've kind of gone unpredictable in this offseason and what they've said so far. So why not bring Daniel Lynch? Why not bring Alec Marsh? Let's see what they got. They can't be worse than what Jordan Lyles can be at his worst. So it is truly a three-man race, and right now I'd probably still have Jordan Lyles as on that opening day roster.
Josh Kaiser's our guest, KCSN One Royal Way podcast. At ESPN, Jeff Passan has a story in all 30 teams and looks at some bold predictions in which he talks about a player that the season hinges on, a bet that you can go and play, sort of an over-under or a total fantasy league player that can help you win, and the next star for this particular team. And the season hinges, he put on Vinny Pasquantino, that the season hinges on Vinny Pasquantino. You agree with that? Or at least the logic of needing the thump in the lineup and what the Royals lineup looked like last year when Vinny Pasquantino went down, and if he can be a legit middle-of-the-order force and have that guy that makes the contact that he does, swings with the authority that he does, punishes the ball the way that he does. Would you land on Vinny Pasquantino the way that Jeff Passan did on the season hinging on one particular player? If it did, here's the player.
I do and I don't. I understand what he's saying, and I do agree with the reasoning behind it. I think I am probably largely disagreeing with it because I'm kind of getting dangerously close to just taking Vinny Pasquantino's production as a given. I'm probably jumping the gun quite a bit there, because projections have him around 830 OPS, and that would be about 25th best in the majors in 2023.
Sign me up.
So, yeah, absolutely. And it is, that is a pretty conservative ranking, I think, at that point. I think he's still got more than that in the tank. But I don't know if his production necessarily hinges on – or the season doesn't hinge on his production in general. I think he's a great, ideal three-hitter behind Bobby Witt Jr. He sees pitches, allows guys to, get reads on the pitching, steal bases potentially. He doesn't put the ball on the ground a lot, so stays out of ground or double plays. Loves to pull, so runners go first and third more often. OBP kind of keeps the line moving, so I do think that he is a very, very good and ideal hitter behind Bobby Witt Jr., but I honestly think, and this is kind of a cop-out answer, but I've said it on the podcast before, that I think that the success of this lineup largely and more importantly hinges on MJ Melendez and Maikel Garcia. I think that those two guys, if they got it together, their theoretical skill sets can really deepen the lineup, and you get four pillars on that in that lineup that really, offers what you really want from four great hitters in a lineup. So That's if you're able to do that and you're able to count on those two and Vinny and Bobby Witt Jr., then you're also left with the upside of like a Salvi or the Hunter Renfroe or Drew Waters or the Nelly Velasquez, but you're not relying on them to figuring it out. So I think if they can get Maikel Garcia to, elevate the ball some more, he's got the hard hit percentage and he's a very good disciplined hitter. And then MJ Melendez, if he is what he is in the last second half of the season last year, then this lineup could be a very, very potent lineup with upsides to go. So I think it's more about Maikel and MJ than it is about Vinny at this point.
It's funny because, look, I think the easy one would be Bobby Witt. Like, well, what is the season? Bobby Witt. Can he be an MVP caliber player? Well, we knew he was. We know he was last year in finishing top 10 in MVP voting, and the way the end of the season, was a guy that was OPSing at 900, and was crushing the ball and stealing bases, etc. So I think that's the easy one. And I think it's an interesting point on Vinny Pasquantino is in sort of like, okay, if healthy, then I'm counting on his production. If not healthy, well, can you say like the season hinges on somebody's health? Well, then, we're looking at sort of production, what this player can do. And if healthy, what's the range of outcomes for this particular player? Obviously, health is the big one for everybody. The Yankees, their season could hinge on the health of Garrett Cole. Just like the health of that, I think, is sort of a given. I understand what Jeff Passan is saying in Vinny Pasquantino being that thump in the lineup. They need that. They were missing it badly last year. But the two guys that I thought of in order was MJ Melendez and Maikel Garcia. So I thought it's interesting you said MJ Melendez and Maikel Garcia. Those are the ones that I thought of how you can elongate the lineup if those guys can hold their own. If Garcia can become more of an offensive player with what he does defensively at third would be a huge boost. And if there is something to MJ Melendez playing better left field because he hadn't played it before, and getting used to it and taking the offseason and learning the outfield. And if that is calming his mind at the plate to where he's swinging the bat in spring training the way he ended the season, then that can go a long way as well for this offense and elongating the lineup. And given what they did with the bullpen and the starters and that rotation, if those guys can play that way, hoping you get what you get from Bobby Witt and Vinny Pasquantino, then that can be a difference of 4 or 5 wins, which can keep you in contention into middle to late August.
Yes, and I kind of coming into this, kind of started to think about, could the Royals be the 2023 World Series appearing Arizona Diamondbacks? They were built on a rotation that had a Cy Young finalist in Zach Gallen. They had another really good pitcher in Merrill Kelly, but as a whole, their starters were 16th and 5th, so right there in the middle. The bullpen had 3 guys that were pitching under a 4 or 5th, and them as a whole was a 21st overall. The offense was based on 4 guys with OPSs north of 750. Their team OPS was 17th in the majors. So all you need to do is stay there at least in the middle, have some breaks fall your way. Even in a tough division like the NL West, you're still making the playoffs and making run at that point. Who knows what happens? So can the Royals become the 2023 Arizona Diamondbacks? Maybe. But could they also be the 2023 Royals? Of course. We definitely know that is in the realm of possibilities. But as a whole, I think that they could have some things go their way and still find themselves in contention at the end of the day. But Andy Rogers wrote something about the lineup on a broader scale a few weeks ago, talking about they needed to improve with runners in scoring position. And I talked about that early this season last year, and they did get better in the second half. But last year they had a 689 OPS. With runners in scoring position, 28th in the majors. Okay, well, maybe you can keep the line moving and walk a little bit. Well, they were 28th in OBP at 317. Okay, don't strike out, put the ball in play and see what happens. Well, they had the 5th highest K rate with runners in scoring position at 23.8. So I think the importance of runners in scoring position is kind of like a fleeting thing, but I should say the opportunity and the sample size is kind of a fleeting thing. It kind of fluctuates up and down pretty easily. But the impact is undeniable. It has to be done. You have to be successful, even to a relatively average way. if you're able to do that, then maybe you find yourself in more games. So I think from a broader standpoint, the lineup does have to work more on runners in scoring position, and that could really, between that and starting rotation, can really define the season.
Visiting with Josh Kaiser, One Royal Way podcast, KCSN. Any takeaways from the breakout game? Just one game, but anything you took away, you saw that got you excited from that breakout game number one?
I've got no less than 26 takeaways. Number one. No.
Let's go through them point by point.
I think my number one takeaway is it would have been nice to have a little bit more production quality on that game. I know it's not important in the long run of it, but I mean having to have GameCast kind of sitting off to the side so you can really tell who is who, what's their impact, and where they are relative to the rest of the system and the Major League Baseball. That would have been nice to have a little bit of a step up in production quality. Having an outfield camera that would be able to see fly balls caught would have been nice, but whatever. I digress. Not complaining too much about that because I did like it that we were able to see it at all. But we talked about last week on the prospect rankings last week on the podcast. I was very high on Carson Roccaforte, who played center field in the game yesterday. He had 2.5 really good plays defensively because he ran literally 7 miles from center field to make a diving play that bounced off the heel of his glove and out of his glove. So made really good plays defensively, drew 2 walks and 3 plate appearances. Trevor Werner hit a line drive home run. I was very, very impressive in on his hands and still pulled it out. Blake Mitchell was really good behind the plate and then worked the pitches pretty well, had pretty good plate appearances in his 3 plate appearances. And then they closed out with Chandler Champlain and Will Klein. Both of them were very, very, very filthy on those poor guys in the batter's box going up against them. So those were a couple of the things that I was pulling out. But I was just happy to be able to have kind of back-to-back baseball games to watch on a Sunday afternoon. Could have used it a little bit, warmer outside, but to be able to watch a prospect all-star game on top of a Bally's sportscast of the Royals versus Brewers last night was just good to see. So kind of ramping up, getting into baseball season, and has begun.
Last one for you. Blake Mitchell got the start at catcher. Carter Jensen was the DH. And a year ago, Blake Mitchell was catching high school pitchers. and now they feel good enough about him that they're okay with. Typically, it's the defensive part, right? With a high school catcher, it's like, well, this high school catcher, you see all the tools, and man, can he mash? Okay, well, this guy's a high school catcher is going to play a corner outfielder, a DH. Let's just go ahead and count that as being moved right now. I think there's something too when if it wasn't switched. It wasn't Carter Jensen starting at catcher and Blake Mitchell at DH. It was Blake Mitchell that they're saying, no, we're going to put him behind the plate because even as a high schooler, we see the defensive tools that are there, and we find it good enough that in this sort of prospect game, he's our starting catcher, which to me is an indication of, I know they drafted him in the first round, that's obvious, but an indication of the view of him and maybe how quickly they feel like he might be able to get to the big leagues if his defensive work is coming along, that they say this guy's going to be a catcher, not just a catcher in high school that can mash, and we'll see and hope he can stick. If not, hey, he can play a corner.
Yeah, I think that most of the reports the scouting reports about Blake Mitchell at the draft were, defensively he's very, very good, almost, advanced for where he was as a 19-year-old high school prep catcher. But he also had the arm, which is about 70 grade. He was also a pitcher, so he's got the arm to absolutely, throw dudes out on the base paths. And people talked about his intangibles, his ability to be a leadership, his confidence. All of that was just kind of the floor that Blake Mitchell has, I think, at this point. Everybody's question was about that bat more so. So I think, it does say a lot. And there was an article on, I think Andy Rogers wrote it, but between those two and Ramon Ramirez, down there in the Dominican League, he should be stateside this year. They're talking about 3 viable catching options in the system where it's supposed to be pretty hard to be able to develop guys behind the plate. So we potentially have 3 guys within the system that could be very, very exciting in the coming years. And Blake Mitchell is just kind of the tip of the spear to be able to generate the upside that can come with those guys.
Yeah, hopefully that continues. Josh Kaiser, KCSN One Royal Way podcast. Josh, you're the man. Appreciate it as always, brother. Next week we will have a conversation previewing the start of the Major League Baseball season. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Enjoy the 1 seed Cole Reagans in the South region, and we'll talk soon.
What a matchup that's going to be. I am ready with my popcorn and ready to get this ball rolling. Appreciate you guys having me. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Josh. There you go. Josh Kaiser. Great stuff. Go check out One Royal Way podcast, KCSN, and Josh Kaiser. Always love having him on. Yes, the news around the Royals, the big news being that Cole Reagans will be starting next Thursday against the Minnesota Twins on opening day. That should be a lot of fun. Thank you to Matt Quattrero for making the right decision and starting the guy that has the ace potential and dark horse Cy Young potential and the excitement around him for this Royals fan base. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. I do want to get into a little Chiefs. We talked a lot of NCAA tournament in the first, hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes of the show. The reports out there about L'Jarius Sneed and what the future for him will be, where it will be, how much it will be, compensation that may come along with where he will be. We'll talk about some of those things coming up next right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We'll talk with Mick Schaefer coming up at 1 o'clock. We got a bracket of sound, the one of the regions we will release today. We'll also get some Learn Funniest Best, and finding out that coming up in about 10 minutes, we'll hear from one Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown. I'm still laughing at Mick Schaefer on Friday when we were talking about the Chiefs acquiring Hollywood Brown, and then we were discussing our Big 12 tournament coverage brought to you by Hollywood Casino. Mick Schaefer said Marquise Casino, actually. I don't know why. That just stupid stuff like that makes me laugh, and I've got that personality. It's weird. I get it. Understandable. Whatever. But yes, we'll hear from one Marquise Hollywood Brown in about 10 minutes from now. We will do that and hear what he has to say about joining the Chiefs and swag surfing and listening to some Taylor Swift as well. So we will do that. 913-912-4810. Conversation around L'Jarius Sneed. There has been a connection with the Colts over the last few days, and whether or not the Chiefs will be trading L'Jarius Sneed, whether or not the compensation is something that they're okay with, whether or not is the contract that maybe the Colts are not okay with, and maybe some negotiations with L'Jarius Sneed's representation and what that may mean. So Adam Schefter was on the Pat McAfee show about 30 minutes ago, and here's Adam Schefter and the latest on L'Jarius Sneed.
Are signing Sneed. You know, he's on a franchise tag with the Kansas City Chiefs. There was a blogger named Destin Adams who covers the Indianapolis Colts this weekend who said, I have it on good authority that Sneed is going to be an Indianapolis Colter, that they're in the lead potentially in trying to get him. Diana Rossini, I believe, obviously formerly of your insider team over there at ESPN, now at The Athletic, she's saying that she's hearing the same thing. I'm pretty zeked up. I'm sneaked up, if that's the case, if we're doing it. Is that happening here in Indy? And how does this feels like a lot more franchise tag negotiations with other teams taking place as opposed to other years?
I will read to you the comments that I sent to my news desk on Sunday morning when they asked me that very same question about whether Sneed was headed in there. I'm looking for the exact comments. Basically, here we go.
Quoting Adam Schefter?
Yeah, well, actually, I don't want to read the exact comments because they're actually rather defend. Let's just say this.
What?
They haven't had any conversation.
Hold on. Hold the phone. We'll get back to that. What are the actual comments? You got F-bombs in there? Is Schefter just dropping F-bombs in the middle of these texts to the news desk?
Well, I'll say the exact thing was the two sides, quote unquote, haven't had any conversations.
Dest.
Colts and Chiefs.
Oh, boy. Dest. It's complete horseshit.
Is that real? So that was yesterday.
100%. Not happening. Now, could that change? Could that change? Sure.
Bomb.
But no, that's not happening, Pat. Sorry.
Yeah,
well,
it doesn't sound like you're sorry.
Man.
Scroll through your phone. I want to break this guy's heart.
I'm deeply remorseful. Yeah. I'm deeply remorseful to deliver the news that disappoints you anytime. I never want to see you.
All right, so they went into sort of having fun with Pat McAfee wanting L'Jarius Sneed to be an Indianapolis Colt. Schefter saying they have had no discussions. It is not happening. No talks, no conversations at all. Even though there have been multiple people that have reported that there are conversations that have taken place between the two. Stephen Holder of the Colts, well, of ESPN that covers the Colts. Stephen Holder, who covers the Colts, has mentioned that there have been at least those inside the organization that are talking about L'Jarius Sneed. Are they talking with the Chiefs? I don't know, but talking about L'Jarius Sneed. There have been other reports that it is the contract discussion with L'Jarius Sneed, that he wants too much money. Here's Diana Rossini. And this is from, let's see, from the Athletic Football Show. Today, Diana Rossini, it's about a 1-minute clip or so talking about the latest with L'Jarius Sneed.
couple moves that haven't happened yet but are still looming here. What is the latest on the L'Jarius Sneed situation with Kansas City, and how do you ultimately see this playing out?
Well, I had my tweet up ready to go because I really thought it was going to get done last week. The Tennessee Titans and the Indianapolis Colts were really close on getting deals done. This was before the Calvin Ridley move was made by Tennessee. I don't think all trade talks are dead involving Sneed now with Kansas City. Do I believe that it's going to be Tennessee? I think the chances are obviously smaller now. Being able to pay Sneed on a new contract because he does want a new deal, obviously. And that appears to be the holdup of trying to iron that out. So the conversations are going to continue, and I do think if there's going to be more movement, we're going to see it a little bit closer to the draft.
Do you think do you think Indianapolis is still the most likely landing spot if he is going to get traded?
I do. I know the New England Patriots, the Minnesota Vikings were also involved in conversations, or at least we're having conversations.
I don't think the Vikings are in a position to give away any draft picks right now.
So there you go. They are no longer in those conversations, New England either. So I do think when it comes down to it, I think the Colts are probably the front runner on it. But I know the Tennessee Titans were really close to getting that trade done.
For the Colts, it would very much be in line with the way they've operated in the past. If you think about the biggest splash this team has made outside of the Carson Wentz trade, which we don't really need to talk about, the biggest splash this team has made in veteran player acquisition was DeForest Buckner, who.
There you go. So let's they go on and have a discussion about the Colts and things like that. But Diana Rossini saying that she had the tweet ready to send out of L'Jarius Sneed traded to the Titans last week. It didn't get done, and then they went and got Calvin Ridley, which makes it not necessarily dead, but chances smaller that he ends up with the Titans, leader being the Colts, even though Adam Schefter is saying that there have been zero conversations and discussions between the Chiefs and the Colts about L'Jarius Sneed. It could be a while. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll hear from Hollywood Brown coming up next. All right, welcome back to In the Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We will tune in once Hollywood Brown starts talking for the first time as a member of the Kansas City Chiefs. He'll be introduced in a press conference, which we will join once that gets rolling. So Hollywood Brown, a Kansas City Chief. We saw that news come down late Thursday night and talked a lot about that on Friday. And, of course, now Hollywood Brown being introduced to the Kansas City media. That's what it is. He's being introduced to the Kansas City media. He needs to know the people that he's going to be around a lot. So he needs to get to know Adam Teicher and the rest of the group. Shock jocks, etc. You got to know who they are, you know. Conversations with like Brad and others of like, okay, this is the guy to look out for. This Matt Derrick is going to come get you. Don't misstep. No, don't misspeak. It's going to get you. He's a bulldog, that Matt Derrick. Hollywood Brown's in a meeting right now, and it'll be soon. I think he's like signing his actual contract. Maybe that's the case, because the day that Drew Tranquil went in to sign his contract is then the day that they had him on a Zoom. And we listened into that one on Wednesday or Thursday. One of those days that we were down there at the Miller Lite Fan Fest, in which he broke the news of Mike Pennell being brought back. So does Hollywood Brown break news that there is a new member of the Chiefs? Does he break the news that L'Jarius Sneed is being traded? I mean, what if he's like, yeah, and, you know, I was looking forward to going up against in those practices against L'Jarius Sneed, but I guess now that he's a Colt, what? He's a what? I talked about it on Friday. I love the deal. I love the fit. I love the deal. I think it's an A-plus deal. It's an A-plus fit. We'll see if he turns out to be a stud. I think there's a difference between a really good fit and a really good deal, and then he's a 1,200-yard receiver with 10 touchdowns. Now, my prediction for him, and I got to go back and look at what I wrote down so I remember exactly what I had for my prediction for him. 70 receptions, 850 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Now, I love the deal. I love the fit. Doesn't mean that he's going to be an all-pro receiver. If they get 70, 850, and 5 out of Hollywood Brown this year, I feel good about that. With the with also the sort of understanding or expectation of you're going to get a typical season from Travis Kelce, and this year was more atypical than what we've seen from him, but a typical season from Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice even being the person he was close to the second half last year. If those guys do that and you're adding in 70, 850, and 5 with Hollywood Brown, then yeah, then the offense is much better. It's different now.
So all the teams are going to go and try and, you know, set their teams up to stop the version of the Chiefs of last year that wasn't about the deep ball and wasn't about, you know, big chunk plays, more so just short line of scrimmage throws and running the football, all for us to change right back with Hollywood Brown and throw the deep ball all over the place again.
That's the hope. Push those guys back into the too high.
Yep.
Because the Chiefs in 2022 just dismantled the too high safety look.
Because they have, like, Rashee Rice and Kelce can work in that intermediate now.
Yep. I mean,
a la Sammy when he was here.
Yeah, right. I mean, Rashee Rice, you can move all over the field. Travis Kelce can eat in the middle. And if they don't, if the defense can't bring guys down in the box and play single high at times, which is what they were doing, which was blasphemous for teams to play single high. We hadn't seen that in a few years with the Chiefs. And then they were doing that and daring. It's why there were open shots down the field. You know, we saw at times where, you know, he wasn't, Patrick Mahomes wasn't taking shots down the field. Well, why isn't he throwing the ball? Well, they're keeping everything in front of him. Like, they're not even giving him opportunities. Then we were seeing opportunities, but they weren't capitalizing on them. Well, there were opportunities there because the teams were not saying, we're going to keep everything in front of us, we're going to play too high, and we're going to dare you guys to try to think about going over the top. We're going single high. We're stopping the run. We're going to try to keep everything, and make it more compact where we think you're going to work the most, and we don't think you're going to beat us over the top.
How many years of Mahomes do you think Marquez Valdes-Scantling gets one-on-one in that Eagles game down the field with that much time left in the game? Like that never happens
Yeah.
until last year, and it was actually the right decision because
Yeah.
of how bad we were throwing the ball deep.
And there were a number of times where it was like, oh man, they almost connected on that shot.
Yeah, that one
They had
stands out the most.
I mean, it's like, oh man, they had those guys. They had them open. Yeah, but it didn't ultimately work out. I think this is a year that if Hollywood Brown is healthy, then hopefully he opens up things over the top. He opens up things down the field. That is the hope. That's why you bring in a guy in like Hollywood Brown, a guy who, coming out of Oklahoma, his draft comp was Deshaun Jackson. Coming out of Oklahoma, ran a 4.27. But he's also a guy that has run after the catch ability. He's also the guy that can run good routes. He's a guy that can catch the ball. He's had a 1,000-yard receiving season under his belt in his career. Hollywood Brown is walking up right now, and he will be getting started here very shortly. And do we want to listen in to see what Hollywood Brown, as they started to do? Let's head out there right now.
Yeah, slide it. There you go. There we go. All right. We'll start first with Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Hey, congratulations. I guess first question, how many teams were involved with you, and then what ultimately made Kansas City the right fit?
It was quite a few teams. I was really leaving up to my agent. It was Kansas City was a place that I told him that I wanted to be, if that was an opportunity, and it kind of just unfolded, and I let him do his job, and it kind of God made it happen.
Let's go next to Todd Palmer. Go ahead, Todd.
Hey, appreciate your time, Hollywood. So what was it about? Was it just playing with Pat? Is it about getting back to the Midwest where you played in college? What was it, just the Super Bowls? What made Kansas City like an attractive place for you?
Yeah, Pat was a big part of it. Being able to, play with Pat, Coach Reed, winning culture, the offense, I feel like, I could come in, I can help, I could fit in. All those things played a part, and they were strong on me, so it's kind of like mutual interest that is very appealing.
Let's go next to Todd Lebo. Go ahead, Todd.
I got a couple questions here. First off, did you ever have any communication with the Chiefs when you were coming out in the draft, or is this the first time you ever been involved with Coach Reed or Brett Veach?
Yeah, I thought I was gonna get drafted by the Chiefs when I was coming out. We talked about that since I've been here. That they did a lot of work on me pre-draft. So the world got a way of having things come around like that.
And secondly, this offseason program, I know Patrick does a lot of throwing down in Texas, and he does a thing. What are your plans for the offseason to kind of maybe get a jump start with the offense?
Yeah, I stay out in Texas, so I'll be working with him. We're gonna get together this week, and just looking forward to building a relationship there.
Let's go next to Nate Taylor. Go ahead, Nate.
Hello, congratulations. I just wanted to ask you two questions if I get a chance here. You talked about, obviously, you thought the Chiefs were going to draft you. Just what about their offense do you feel like most can complement your skill set? And Brad, I'll have a second question as well.
I feel like I can move around, do different things. I can stretch the field, and there's guys here, there's guys, Kelsey, the running backs, Rice, Tony, it's weapons here. And I just feel like I can come in, my game can complement, the guys that they have here. And Coach Reed, he a mastermind, and Patrick Mahomes. So I'm excited to work with everyone.
Yeah, it leads me to my second question. Andy is getting a reputation for being able to be the closer in terms of talking to guys in free agency. Just was there anything he said? Obviously, you showed the text message, but what most stood out to you about what Andy said to try to convince you to come to Kansas City?
His track record really speaks for itself. He ain't really got a picture on anything. In real conversation, real talk about, what's going to happen, what's going on. And that's pretty much what led me here.
Go next to Vahe Gregorian. Go ahead, Vahe.
Greetings. Welcome to Kansas City. Just regarding Patrick, I wonder, you've seen him from a distance over the last few years. What sort of impression did you have of why he is somebody you will be able to click with, I guess, is the first question. And Brad, I'll just have one follow-up.
I mean, from the outside looking in, it just seems like a guy that's very passionate, and I'm a very passionate person. Wants to win, do everything necessary to win, and that's somebody you want to play with. You want to play with somebody that's going to bring the best out of you. That's going to push your game to the next level. And I feel like he's definitely one of those type of guys.
And what kind of contact have you had with him so far? And with that, when you think of his skill set, also, I'm trying to cram in two questions, I realize, but when you think of his skill set, what are the things that grab you, and what kind of contact have you had with him so far? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, he contacted me through the process, and even once it got done, we've been in communication. Like, I'm excited to get to work with him. We're gonna get to work soon. And what was your second part?
It really is just about the specifics of his skill set, sort of the sorts of things he does that, what about that intrigues you?
Oh, I mean, the arm talent, the deep arm talent. I mean, it speaks for itself that what can't he do? I mean, he can extend plays. If he gotta, whatever he gotta do to win the game, I feel like I watched him do it, from making those big plays to methodically moving down the field to using his feet to playing injured. Those are those qualities and traits of a guy you want to play for.
Looks like we've got 3 left. We'll go right down the line, starting with Matt Derrick. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, welcome to Kansas City and congratulations. One quick question first, and the second one. What do you prefer to be called, whether it's by the fans or by reporters? What you prefer, Hollywood? You prefer Marquise? What do you prefer?
Hollywood.
You prefer Hollywood, okay. And then when you left Baltimore and made that trade request, you'd said it was about your happiness and that it wasn't the system for you. Do you still feel like that was the right decision for you? And what makes this system in Kansas City something appealing to you?
Yeah, I feel like that was the best decision for me. Because at the end of the day, if you're not happy with yourself or you're not happy with what's going on, you can't put your best foot forward on the field. So I feel like my time in Arizona, I mean, I didn't accomplish stuff I wanted to accomplish on the field, but as a man, I grew. I grew closer with God. I grew closer, with my relationship, with my family. And I feel like God put me in that situation, because I needed it. And being in this system, I feel like, I'll be able to showcase my skill set. I still feel like, it's a lot of my game that I really haven't got to show people. And that's probably what I'm excited about the most, being here, is to just put my best foot forward and show what I can do.
Let's go next to Jesse Newell. Go ahead, Jesse.
Hey, Brad, I'll have a follow-up too. Hey, Hollywood. I heard you say earlier that the Chiefs were strong on you. Can you just describe who you heard from in the last week or two and what they said to you here in this period?
Yeah, my agent was just, keeping me like, the Chiefs, we were going back and forth, and that was just a team that kept coming back, with all the other teams, when the Chiefs are interested in you, it's like, all right, you gotta take a look at that. I mean, of course, I can go get, some money, at other places, but at the end of the day, it's about winning. It's about, what I want. And I feel like everything just worked out, the way it should.
You led me straight to my second question. I mean, receivers have been getting paid this offseason. Do you feel like the Chiefs offered you the most money, or did you turn down some money to be able to have this opportunity?
Yeah, it was other opportunities out there for sure, but I'm happy with the decision. I'm happy with where I'm at, and at the end of the day, I'm a kid that comes from nothing. So the amount of money I've made so far in my life is a blessing to me. God continues to bless me going forward. That'll be a blessing for me. But I'm a football player. I want to play football. I want to win. I want to be a part of the winning, and that's why I'm here.
We'll go last to Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, congratulations and welcome to Kansas City.
did you have a sense going through all this leading up to now that how much the Chiefs really, how much your signing really was important to them, what it meant for you, for you to sign here? And Brad, I'll have a second question as well.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of got that, going through the process, hearing from the people that I trust the most. And, I know the caliber of player that I can be and that I am. And I knew that, if I was to come here, it could be a big impact, for the team and, some element that, they need.
Okay, and you said a minute ago, a lot of my game, I really haven't gotten to show people yet. Can you elaborate on that? What you want to show people that you haven't got to show yet, and why you think this is a good place for you to show it?
Yeah, I feel like I can affect, all three levels of the game, short, intermediate, and deep. I feel like times, in Baltimore and in Arizona, I showed facets of, things that I could do, but not on a consistent basis. So I feel like, here, it's guys around, interchangeable, we can complement each other. And that way, the best can come out of everyone.
Hollywood, we appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, there's Hollywood Brown, newest member of the Kansas City Chiefs, being introduced, and he will be heading out there this year for the Chiefs as their newest X-receiver, and he talked about how he can move around to different spots and do some of those things, and he has played mostly, 75% of his snaps have been on the outside as the X-receiver, but he's looking at moving around, doing some different things there. Pat Mahomes, he was a big part of why he decided to choose the Kansas City Chiefs. There were quite a few teams in on him, he said. His agent said that KC is wanting you, and he said, I told him I wanted to be there, so let his agent do the job. Said that there were other opportunities out there for sure. When asked about turning down money, there were other opportunities out there for sure. I'm a football player. I want to win. I want to be a part of the winning. So that's interesting. And by the way, there were reports that he turned down more money. So it's not just him saying it. There were reports which then got the question there as well. And then he said he talked with the Chiefs in 2019 and thought they may actually draft him. They ended up trading for Frank Clark in 2019 for that draft. And then they took, in the second round, Mecole Hardman. Clearly looking for a player like Marquise Brown.
Free delivery and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Mick Schaefer hanging out with us. He's KSHB 41 sports director, if you didn't know that.
It's a shorter hour. You've cut into my time.
No, that was Hollywood Brown.
I'm a clock watcher, guys. You know, everybody says I'm not a clock.
Did you say were you trying to say a clock watcher there?
Clock watcher.
Well, we're going to reveal a bracket of a sound this week. It'll be a region that we're going to reveal today. I think we have a late edition, so I'm not sure. We might have a late edition right there. The brackets have not been released yet. We have a new 1 seed.
You're playing games?
Region.
Oh, God.
Mick Schaefer is presented by Empower Payments, boosting your business and charity with every transaction. Learn more at empowerpayments.com. Hollywood Brown was cutting into your time. Okay, he's all Hollywood.
He was.
Hollywood kid, you know? Man, I wish Matt Derrick would have had a power move. Just a power move. When Matt Derrick asked him, well, what do you prefer? Is it Hollywood? You want to go by Marquise? What do you prefer? It's Hollywood. Okay, Marquise, my next question is...
It's like you said, okay, Marquez.
Marquez. No. We don't conform to what the wide receivers want us to call them. Okay. We'll call you. Yeah. I mean,
It'll be Hollywood. That's more fun to say.
Hollywood's fun.
It's always the part of your name that's more fun to say. Todd is boring, so we call him Lebo.
Lebo.
Jason and Anderson are both boring, so it's just
terrible.
Like Jason.
Yeah, just like choose which one sucks the more, the most, or more.
Shafe, I hear a lot. Shafe, just like half of my second name.
Well, Mick was funner.
More
name
fun.
to say. More fun.
Yeah.
Is funner a word? Funner's
Mickey's
word.
more fun to say than Mick, but
More fun. Funner is
more
funner,
fun.
Is funner acceptable?
It's not.
It's not. Yeah.
If you keep saying it though, they put those words in the dictionary.
I know, right?
Like frustrated is in the dictionary.
Well,
thanks in
should
large
be.
part, I think, to Herman Edwards, who said it all the time.
That's right. I get frustrated sometimes when I say funner, but I mean more fun. So
I mean, there should be like if the word's only 3 letters, you just put the ER and the EST at the end, right? You shouldn't have to add a whole other word.
Fun, funner, funnerist.
That's it.
Is what it should be, you know? English language. Why do you everybody
It's
has some-
funniest, that's right, but it's
See?
not most funny.
But it's not funnerist.
It's not funner. It's not funnest. It's most fun.
So stupid. That's the most dumb one in the English
Is that the
language.
stupidest? Or the most
It's
stupid?
the most stupid. It's the most stupidest. I'll do a double comparative right here. Okay, I don't give a bleep.
That
I'll
would
go
be a double superlative.
double
Jason.
superlative, double
Yeah.
comparative, double whatever, double right hook you. All right.
Yeah, you will.
Little rabbit punch.
Little triple Lindy.
Rabbit punch, followed by a sidewinder, and then a pile driver. That's right, pile driver. All right, let's release a bracket of a region in the bracket of sound.
Let's go.
We have our regions. In the,
Have you announced? You haven't announced the 4 names.
We've
of them?
announced the
Okay.
4 names,
Can
but
I hear them?
I know you did not hear them. I'm going to announce them again. The 4 names here, representing the East region, is the region in my Swifty era.
Okay. What's in that? What is that in reference to?
Beyonce being in town
Gotcha.
for
Makes sense,
a
yeah.
concert
Okay.
earlier. The South region is the woke up the wrong mother bleeper region.
That is obviously Bobby Witt.
Yep.
Yeah.
The West region.
It's in reference to Max Crosby, isn't it?
That's exactly right.
He
Yeah.
gets some reason for him,
Yeah,
man.
it's,
He
well,
gets
it's more.
some
It's more
region.
Mahomes. It's more Mahomes.
Well, he's talking to Max Crosby. He elicited that. That was.
I'm here.
That was.
I'm here.
That was a lot of Max there.
I'm here. I'm here.
The West region is the Fat Bear Week region.
Oh, love it. God, I love that one. Well done.
And the Midwest region is Engan Briscoe
Oh,
region.
yeah.
So there you go. But I made sure to put an E at the end of Briscoe.
Oh, just a bit more.
Just
Just to be incorrect.
Needle 'em. So there you go. Those are the regions. We unveiled today the East region, the number 1 overall seed in UConn. That doesn't necessarily mean these are the number 1 overall seed teams. Look, the selection committee had a lot
of baseball this weekend.
work to do. The selection committee was up late multiple nights. They have been grinding through this.
So you're saying UConn's piece of sound isn't necessarily the best sound out there?
Isn't necessarily the number 1 overall seed of number 1
But it's
seeds.
one of the top ones.
But it's one of the top ones, yes, for sure. It is in the In My Swifty era, so sometimes these will be connected to the names of their
It's just like, you know,
regions.
you've got the you have the locations,
Geographical
right? You got to figure it
preferences.
out.
That's exactly right. So the 1 seed, it's UConn, and UConn is represented by this sound.
Silence. That was my favorite
That's exactly
one.
right.
It's my
UConn's
favorite
represented
sound
by
on this show.
We got to talk about it.
Yeah, my personal life that's not so personal.
We got to talk about it.
Yeah, my personal life that's not so personal.
Yeah, well,
I did this to myself, Jason. I know this.
well, Trav, how's it feel that Taylor Swift has finally put you on the map?
I just thought it was awesome how everybody in the suite had nothing but great things to say about her. You know, the friends and family. She looked amazing. Everybody was talking about her in great light. And on top of that, the day went perfect for Chiefs fans, of course. We script it all, ladies and gentlemen. But to see the slow motion chest bumps, to see the high fives with mom, to see how, you know, Chiefs Kingdom was all excited that she was there, that was absolutely hysterical. It was definitely a game I'll remember. That's for damn sure. And then we just slid off in the getaway car at the end.
Can I try one that's not about the Cowboys? Swifty to Swifty. Taylor Swift was in attendance to watch Travis Kelce's game with his mom in the box. Seems like they may be the new it couple. Where do you fall on that? Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift, power couple in the NFL.
Well, I would say that Travis Kelce's had a lot of big catches in his career. This would be the biggest.
I mean, everybody's talking about it.
Everyone, literally everyone, even Bill Belichick. He hasn't
Dude,
talked much about
how
me
about
outside
that?
of, you know, game weeks that we've played, but he made sure to remind me that that's the best catch I've ever had in my life.
Dude, that was a great line by Bill.
Hilarious.
Taylor Swift.
You know what? I've met her before. Adam, I set him up. I just leave you with it.
And then you got Coach Reed telling everybody he's Cupid. He's been manifesting this the whole time. He's the one that set us up.
Is there any truth to this?
I don't even know how to answer that. I know that he had met the Swift family before, so I don't know. He could have been in the background the whole time.
Dude, Coach Reed playing matchmaker?
Who knew Cupid was so big? Shout out to Taylor for coming through and see me rock the stage.
So that was the Bears
That's
game.
one bite?
That was one. That was.
You just gave me 10 pieces of sound there.
That was the number 1 seed UConn.
Oh, boy.
As the whole thing
man.
sort of started with Kelsey and Taylor Swift when she showed up at the Bears game. And then we heard Bill Belichick, Andy Reid, all of that stuff. And it's been crazy. We've all been in our Swiftie era since then. The number 16 seed
I don't know. That's a lot. It's like playing with 15 guys out there. You put like 10 sound bites all into one. That's why UConn's winning. They have extra guys on the court.
Yeah, it's like when KU plays with 8 at home.
That's right, every time.
Stetson, the 16 seed, taking on the 15 players for UConn, will be this sound.
And that was where I had my first ever Puffy Taco.
See, that's a great sound. I want to pick that upset.
You want to go 16?
Because it's punchy. It's a drop. Bam, bam, bam. We got in, we got out. Not 2 minutes worth of like, Taylor Swift stuff.
The 8-9 matchup in the region of in my Swiftie era. The number 8 seed is Florida Atlantic. They made a great run last year. They're the 8 seed in the East, and the 8 seed in the East represented by this.
What could you possibly complain about with Forrest Gump?
I have a rub. Oh, yeah, I'm not doing whatever I want. Now my life's going down the toilet.
Yeah.
So here I am,
Yes,
Forrest.
yes. You should
Slept with half the country and taken every drug known to man, and now you're dying. Hey, I'm back.
I think Jenny was being opportunistic.
Little Forrest told me that his name was Alex before I came along, but Jenny told him to say his name was Forrest.
Yeah. He's been 7 different names. He was confused.
What? Okay, I missed that. What are they talking about?
Forrest Gump, Jenny showing up at the end out of nowhere when she's dying and like, oh, Forrest, I've been sleeping with everybody in the country and taking every drug known to man. Now that I'm dying, Forrest, it's always
She's
been you.
the ultimate villain.
I think Jenny was being opportunistic. That is the Florida Atlantic team, the number 8 seed. They're taking on the 9 seed of Northwestern, and that is this sound.
I played with this thing for like 5 minutes before I came on here.
That's Northwestern.
I was waiting for more. I like Northwestern and Stetson to get out there.
That's all you get.
But they're riding with their teams, right? We're not picking like usual. It's riding with
they
their
just
teams.
riding with their teams. Whoever wins, wins. We go further down the bracket. The number 5 seed, San Diego State in the East, in my Swiftie era region. San Diego State represented by this sound.
So you don't have to.
Oh, here we go. Movement.
What's going on here? Come on, cameraman, go in there, please. Is that Trav?
That looks like it could be him. Oh, that could be.
Is that
That could be
big fella?
Travis. Oh no, that We've looks got a like it could be couple- Travis. That
There are two
no, I
Travis.
think that's Travis.
He's brought his
I
brother.
feel like Is that his brother in tow?
Possibly.
Brother in tow.
That looks
He's
like
got the
Travis'
sport-
second one.
He's got the sporty attire on, so, you know.
Definitely
it's
not
in
an
keeping.
IT crowd, so I'm feeling even more confident now that this is Travis Kelce.
I'm very, very excited.
His backwards cap and his sporting athleisure
Yeah.
gear, I would say we are onto the right person here.
And as Carl was saying this morning, it's quite quick, isn't it, when you're on a private jet? You're just sort of taken away, whisked away. You don't have
Say
to
that
wait
with
in any lines. It's
Some
quite an
degree of
easy.
knowledge.
Well, not me personally.
No, as
you
Carl
would have
said,
some
this
experience.
is not a Jetstar experience.
No.
With all respect to our friends at Jetstar.
So only 2
Lovely
people have
friends.
climbed out. It looks like it's Travis and his brother, we think. We're obviously not
wasn't.
certain because we're looking at this from quite a distance. We'll firm up those details for you shortly. But it appears as though, as Dickie said, Travis Kelce has made yet another touchdown in Sydney this morning.
It's his brother in tow, the sporting athleisure that he's wearing.
Athleisure.
Athleisure. It was not his brother with him.
Was it him?
They
Was it
actually got
Travis?
they actually got the wrong. It was Travis, but
Okay.
they got the wrong one. I can't remember who was with him. It was his best friend that played tight end for like 10 minutes for the Chiefs.
Ross Travis.
Yeah, Ross Travis.
Ross Travis.
So it was Travis. They were right about the Travis.
Ross
but,
Travis Kelce.
But they thought Travis Kelce was Ross Travis, and the first person that got out was Travis Kelce, but they thought that was Jason Kelce because he looked bigger.
I guess we found out that Jetstar is like Australian United.
Apparently, no offense to our friends at Jetstar. Oh, too late. A little past that. The number 12 seed UAB is taking on that number 5 seed. The 12 seed UAB represented by this sound.
They were Asian-inspired hot dogs. We had little.
What's that mean? An Asian-inspired hot dog?
They're real dogs.
That's enough, Jake.
That's enough, Jake.
It's Final Four caliber.
They're real
drop
dogs.
right there.
The committee went back and forth as to how high to put that one. Maybe it should have been a little bit higher. I don't know. It's a tough field.
12-5 upset.
Tough field. That could be a 5-12 upset right there. Maybe that's why they did it. I don't know. The 4 seed, the Auburn Tigers. The 4 seed in the In My Swifty era. The Auburn Tigers represented by this.
Let me get closer to Mick's nipples so I can look at this. Wow.
That's already a drop for next year.
Incredible.
It's all the sequential unlocking of body parts to maximize club head speed at the point of contact, and that involves your nipples.
You got to put your nipples where your mouth is.
It's Tom Watson. He's not going to take a divot off my nipple.
It's yet another year where mixed nipples continue to come up in conversations.
It's a theme.
Mixed nipples, the Auburn Tigers, who could make a run as well. We could mixed nipples could be around for a while.
Ready for that 4-13 upset? Is that what that is? Yeah.
Next
ready for that
3
one.
weeks. Why wouldn't Tom Watson take a divot out of your nipple? I don't know. That's the
pick it clean.
The 4 seed Auburn. They'll be taking on Yale, and Yale represented by this sound.
And another hustle double. Right over the bag at first. Now Hosey and Anderson square off. They're fighting. They're swinging. Down goes Anderson. Down goes Anderson. And Tim Anderson was on the wrong side of that punch.
So when Tim Anderson got dropped last year, the White Sox, and of course the down goes Anderson. Down goes Anderson. It's a great call with calling the boxing there during the match. That is the 13 seed Yale squad. Number 6 seed BYU. BYU represented by this sound.
When you hear that word, sort of, what do you think in the NFL now of parody?
What do I think of parody in the NFL?
Or Paradise Nuts?
Okay.
Nate.
Got him.
Got him,
Jake.
Got me.
I'm done now.
I did. I walked right into that.
It's never that funny, Nathan. It
What-
is never that funny.
He did. Stephen did spend about 4 or 5 minutes setting that up, waiting for Nate to say parody. Got him. That's the 6 seed BYU. The number 11 seed Duquesne. Duquesne, represented by this.
Hey, good afternoon, James.
Hey, Corey.
A follow-up to what you were just asked there about Drew. Is there a balance, though, between, hey, we need you to throw the ball deep no matter, just take a shot. Don't overthink it. Take a shot. We need to see it. We're going to call it. And we need you to get some confidence in doing this as opposed to even giving a young quarterback the chance to say, hey, just check it down if it's not there.
I don't really understand what you're saying because we would never. I'm like my skin is curling when you say just drop back and chuck it deep no matter what. Like that is like I don't even know what you're saying. It's like you're speaking like from
just
Mars.
send the guy on a post pattern, take the shot, throw it.
No matter what.
Give your receiver a chance to make a play
So
on the
many
ball.
cliches.
Even if he might be covered 30 yards down the field, maybe you think he'll be open 45 yards down the field, and like Godwin did, or with Jahan or KJ.
I still don't like you're speaking Japanese. We have never done that. Just throw the ball up and maybe he'll be open and maybe he'll catch. Like my skin is you're making me uncomfortable. Like I don't know what you're talking about. So yeah, we would not do that. We would never do that. We've never thought about doing that as a head coach, as an offensive coordinator, as a receivers coach. I coached the receivers. I didn't want them to do that. So No. Strong, no. Like, yeah. No.
Doing a yeah. Right for the who was that?
That was James Franklin, and they never threw the ball deep. It was short passes, but
his skin is curling right now.
Just throw, post pat, take a shot. Give your receiver a chance. A lot of cliches in there.
Yes.
Just like, why don't you just throw it deep one time?
Yes.
Because the guys aren't open to do. Just throw it just one time, just to give them some confidence.
Was that
and
a fan or a reporter?
It was a reporter. It was like a Zoom or whatever, or a conference call. Let's go to further down the bracket, the number 3 seed, the Big Ten champion, tournament champion, Illinois Fighting Illini, is represented by this sound.
You stole my heart, you intercepted it. Now you're gone, have to accept it. Did I meet your mom too soon? Or did I do what I always do? Yeah, we made it to the 50, and then you kissed me. We made it to the 40, a new love story. We made it to the 30, and you did me dirty right then.
Which Nashville writer is this?
And as I touch down, just like you in a game, I'm in another town, and nothing feels the same. Wish I could go back when we met that day. Whoa, and throw a flag on the play.
Who is this represented by?
That song is
Illinois.
Illinois.
Fighting Illini all the way. That's my favorite team. I want them to win.
That song is Illinois, and the breakup song for Travis Kelce that came out like 2 days after that Bears game.
Yeah,
2 days after she was there in Kansas City in the suite. That song came out. That was fantastic. Morehead State facing off against Illinois, represented by this sound.
Acknowledging right off the jump that I'm fading Dick in a contrarian way.
So there you go. There's the 14 seed Morehead State.
That matches up. Well done by the committee.
Sometimes those things just happen to work out that way.
Sure.
The number 7 seed, the Washington State squad, number 7, is represented by this sound.
Right now, what are the emotions like going through your head personally?
It's tired of losing, man.
Garrett Bowles. That's right, Garrett Bowles.
I've been here for 7 years, and all I've done is lost.
Broncos.
All I've done is lost.
No matter what, got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up.
Tired of losing, man.
And they stay there, and they say yeah, and they stay there. Cause all I do is
lost.
And if you going in, put your hands in the air, make them stay there.
All I've done is lost.
So Garrett Bowles, we had fun with that after the first Denver game. Mm-hmm. Not as much fun after the second Denver game. So that one we brought back this go around because we had a decent week of that one. But who cares what happened after that? The number 10 seed, the
Super Bowl. That's all I remember happened after that.
That's exactly right. 10 seed Drake, represented by this sound. We actually took the cake, made it into muffins, so it baked faster.
And it's still delicious.
Very delicious and moist on the inside.
We might just be licking the beaters.
Just mark yourself, Drake.
And oddly enough, represented by Drake.
Well done,
committee. Drake.
That
is that
they got a sense of humor. That committee,
those Drake, the committee members.
The possibility of North Carolina facing Duke in the Final Four. And
my goodness,
choreographed.
Oh, McClellan, come on. The 2 seed Iowa State Cyclones in my Swiftie era. 2 seed represented by this.
Speaking of Taylor Swift, I know you went to the Taylor Swift concert. How was it?
Yeah, well, I was disappointed that she doesn't talk before or after her shows because she has to save her voice for the 44 songs that she sings. So I was a little butthurt I didn't get to hand her one of the bracelets I made for her.
You made her a bracelet?
Yeah. If you're up on Taylor Swift concerts, there are friendship bracelets, and I received a bunch of them being there, but I wanted to give Taylor Swift one with my number on it. Not right now.
Your number's in 87 or your phone number?
You know which one. She doesn't meet anybody, or at least she didn't want to meet me, so I took it personal.
She probably just hasn't gotten over the Super Bowl yet. She's a big Eagles fan. Maybe she just made something up and just didn't want to talk to you.
Damn it.
The soundbite that started,
it all.
Soundbite that I was thinking about, or the committee was thinking about making that the one seed.
Just like they thought about making Iowa State a one seed.
Right, exactly. Sort of went back and forth, but I'm like, you know what? Iowa State got screwed into get a one seed, so that sound. But that's the soundbite that started it all.
I like
him
2-over-1 there.
Making that declaration there during the tournament or during the podcast as we wrap up the final team in my Swifty era region in the Bracket of Sound tournament. The number 15 seed South Dakota State, represented by this.
Name a non-electronic item that you might buy for back-to-school shopping.
Wow, as a guy who has no kids and hasn't been to school in 40 years, this
but
is
you
not
went
easy.
to school for several years.
I did.
It
was a different time then. I will say, criminy.
I need an answer.
Drugs.
Didn't think he was going there.
Well done.
Did not think that was the sound.
That's
or the,
only a 15. That's
the answer. I know that was a tough one. That was a tough one. Made it out of the Missouri Valley Conference in South Dakota State. Who knows?
The Jacks can play some ball.
They
now,
can.
Okay?
Absolutely.
The State can play a little bit.
There's in my Swifty era region for the Bracket of Sound. We will release one more Bracket of Sound or region tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, back when Mick is with us again, we will release the final two regions heading into Thursday's start of the tournament. So there you go. There's region at number 1 in my Swifty era.
So do the play-in games...
They
Those
count
teams,
as one. They count as just one. Yeah, because then we would have to release
by Tuesday
all of the sound tomorrow. And I want to string this out a little bit,
Absolutely.
Really, I just
20 hours.
Yeah, I don't want to just throw it all in one day. Come on, man. Leave the people wanting more or
listeners
less.
earn it. Absolutely,
yeah, absolutely. You got to tune in tomorrow and then Wednesday
or not
as well.
tune in tomorrow.
Yeah,
right?
then you'll miss it.
Be a great excuse.
And then maybe we'll podcast it. I don't know. Maybe we won't. I'm not sure. I know this. We're going to take a time out. We're going to learn funniest best from the weekend with Mick Schaefer hanging out with us, presented by Empower Payments. He's from KSHB 41 Sports Director. It's The Zone. Jason Anderson with you. Mick Schaefer hanging out with us, presented by Empower Payments. Dylan Michaels, we had up until 2 o'clock. The program, Whistler and Petro, comes your way at 2 o'clock as the selection committee releasing their bracket yesterday. And we talked a lot about that in the first hour and a half of the show. First hour and a half of the show. We discussed all of those things. Let's get into Learn Funniest Best. Is presented by Pyramid Roofing. Is Learn Funniest Best. For a free estimate, give Pyramid Roofing a call, 816-966-1101 or pyramidroofingkc.com. So, a couple of things that I learned from the weekend. One of the main ones being, I mentioned this in the 11 o'clock hour, but still a learned. I learned that Duquesne, a fun story that people are talking about, Duquesne's head coach was LeBron James' high school coach when he played a high school in Akron.
Yeah.
His high school
like
coach.
St. Martin,
St. Anthony?
Yep, two saints in there.
Yeah,
yep.
There's 2 saints, but there was only one king. But the Duquesne head coach was LeBron's head coach there. And turns out LeBron still has eligibility left, so he may be a late eligible player.
Where is sure college town? I'm like, everybody come on back, you're fine. Yeah, no, LeBron, you didn't play. We got you 5 years, you'll probably get a 6th, and I'm not counting on 7, 8, and 9. What's the where's Duquesne located?
Duquesne is located in Pittsburgh.
Okay, that's right. Knew that.
It's Pittsburgh. It's a private school, in case you were wondering.
Yes, it is.
Yes. It's a research institution as well, is Duquesne. But I learned that the head coach there, LeBron's old head coach, and he is going to retire after this tournament run. So we'll see if he can win the national championship like he won a couple of state titles with LeBron. So they say he's got a LeBron of basketball. They don't say that. They do have 2 players that played on that St. Peter's team. There was a 15 seed that went to the Elite Eight a couple of years ago that transferred to Duquesne.
Yeah.
So they got some tournament experience. What did you learn this weekend, Mick?
Spent the entire weekend in St. Louis. So I learned that that's a town. It's a place.
I learned there's a place called St. Louis.
Yeah. Speaking of saints, I think it was St. Michael, St. Anthony, St. Louis.
St. Louis. That's
high school we went to.
Still only one king.
It was funny. They my daughter's volleyball tournament was in the Dome, right? And like these girls were like, hey, they were like, they said a football team used to play here. I'm like, yes, they did. And you think about it, like you were probably like 3 back when they moved. It's been about a decade, so it's been a long time. I'm like, hey, you know the Los Angeles Rams? They were the St. Louis Rams. And before that, this weird town had the St. Louis Cardinals football team alongside the St. Louis Cardinals baseball team. What? Yes, their football and baseball team had the same nickname.
Other than that,
it's great. No, but I learned, I don't know what I was flipping through some like coffee table reading material. Learned that John Hamm taught acting at a high school to Ellie Kemper. Do you know that?
Actually,
I knew they were both from St. Louis.
The only reason I knew that is because he was on a podcast, and so
I don't listen to podcasts.
I heard him say
2 of my favorites: John Hamm at John Burroughs High School, I believe, at a temporary acting or coaching teaching job at John Burroughs High School, and Ellie Kemper was his student. There you go. Mad Men, The Office, kind of colliding there.
Just combining there. What'd you learn, Dylan?
Just 2 minutes ago, I learned via Marquise Brown's IG story that he will be wearing the number 5 for the Kansas City Chiefs this year.
Wait, does that count as the weekend, though? I don't want to get you on a technicality, but Jason, it's Monday. He learned that on a Monday.
Well, when you haven't found your learned yet, and it comes across the timeline.
Oh, dude, I've done that so many times. It's been weeks ago. Yeah, no, I remember learning that.
In the sake of saving time, I'm going to count it. I am going to count that. So there you go. That's his learned. Funniest, we start with you, Mick.
Funniest for me, I doubt anybody else had this or even saw this from the Atlantic 10 championship game, and our very own Kevin Harlan on the call. This happened about 18 minutes left in the second half.
My goodness. Oh, my gosh. They got confetti falling right now. Confetti is falling on the floor. They're going to have to stop playing. We can't see our notes. The players can't work on this court. Confetti is everywhere. Somebody hit the wrong button.
Well, Kevin, to be honest with you, there's not a lot of this confetti that made it on the court. Most of it fell on us. But I think they were just trying to honor you, Kevin. You deserve confetti everywhere you go.
Yeah, right. Our officials wisely stopped it, but that was an early ejection right there. They're going to have to reload it now for the winner. I mean, my goodness, it's...
Well, your winner might have to go confetti-less, at least in this part of the...
Well, Dan, you're not going to go confetti-less. You're collecting it like you're going to bring it home to your grandkids or something.
Well, you know, my grandkids would probably like this.
It's confetti.
But you're the one who's complaining.
It's confetti.
So we got to clean the table off for you. Here you go. Here, this is all your confetti.
Yeah.
You can have it.
I could use that as a hat or something like that. Look, it's but there came streaming down.
Well, Kevin, you know, you do this long enough, you see about everything.
See about everything. That's right. You see about everything.
That was actually my funniest as well. So well done. Well done. Yeah.
Way.
Yeah. Good for you.
No, he was in his I'm calling 2 games mode
yes,
there.
That's right. It was great. That's my funniest. So, Dylan, why don't you wrap us up for the funniest here?
So the SportsCenter ran this graphic right after the NC State highlights of them finishing off and winning the ACC tournament. They put the number of wins in Capital One Arena. They have 5, and the Washington Wizards have 4 all season. There was a little bit of a ricochet shot for the Washington Wizards, and 415,000 views on Twitter as of today. So,
wow,
tough.
That's rough. So sorry for them. All right, best. We start with you, Dylan. Hey, back to back, huh? Because I didn't have a funniest because
Snake
Nick
draft.
took my funny. So you got 2 picks here.
Yes. The best for me actually is the SI.com and SI might be saved because another company, the Minute Media Company, which owns Fansided and the Players Tribune, takes over the license on a 10-year deal.
Okay.
So we will still have Sports Illustrated.
I'll make mine quick. No, it's you. It's you.
Oh, my best was Lil Man started Kid Pitch this weekend. First Kid Pitch tournament was my best from the weekend.
Put some bat on ball, or was there bat on flesh? Or ball on flesh?
No, he didn't hit himself either. But no, he did not. He did not get hit by a pitch. He did get a hit, and he pitched a couple of innings. So yeah, all in all, it was a good couple of games.
My best is there was a jersey swap in the NBA this weekend. There's a jersey swap. That's all. I'll just leave it at that. You can probably Google it if you want. There's a jersey swap in the NBA.
I know exactly the reference that is, so very good.
I didn't see it, but I'll check it out.
It is the best.
I'll check it out. I hope it's nothing like Aroldis Chapman or anything, so it's nothing that I'm going to get caught with by looking something up on Twitter. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, wrap up the show next. bracket challenge button, and you can enter the 810 bracket contest presented by Mr. Davis, Dewey's, Truity Credit Union, and Greengrass Cattle Company. And, of course, we are going to have every single game, just like we've done in the past. Every single game will air right here on your home for the NCAA tournament. It's Sports Radio 810 WHB and ESPN Kansas City. So every single game of the NCAA tournament you'll hear on our family of networks. So there you go.
It's a lot of games.
It is a lot of games.
Are you not doing shows then?
I'll be doing shows, so during the day we'll hear it on ESPN Kansas City, unless KU would have had a day game.
Sure.
They're playing
Got to win first.
Second to last game on Thursday night. There you go. Mick, thank you, sir.
Okay, bye.
Appreciate it. Bye-bye.